Hit record, we're ready to go. Welcome to Talkaoke. We've got...
Recce has demonstrated our greatest risk is from stray footballs from the QPR football training.
Oh, there we go. Well, maybe they can talk, because I feel like one of my questions that I wanted to ask was, if you're sort of fit and healthy, are you less likely to suffer from asthma? Or if you're an active child, are you less likely to get asthma?
I've got a question, right, because of this pollution and stuff. If you're an athlete and you're training, because you're talking about Cristiano Ronaldo, that was just an example, but like, should we just, kind of like put a cap on how much people exercise? Because if you're breathing in and out, that's not that good for you. I cycle through Rotherhithe Tunnel every day. It's not that good for me, I know, but I'm kind of okay with it because I'm not yet seeing the impact. But yeah, maybe people should exercise less. Maybe that should be just yeah.
Okay, so with a few things there, Margot's going through, cycling through car tunnels. If you have asthma, should you exercise less? Should you exercise more? Is it good for you? Is it bad for you? Any other thoughts? I mean, Ian, we are kind of going to you as our expert here, asthma expert.
So, if you have asthma, there's definitely periods when you shouldn't be exercising, yes? So when there are air pollution episodes, high levels of air pollution, and mostly we're thinking about outdoor air pollution because that's where the government can give advice, then you probably shouldn't be outside with asthma exercising during those periods. And the advice they would give you is, during a high air pollution thing, don't go outside, don't exercise, don't do strenuous exercise, make sure you have your medication with you, which I have a slight problem with because I think it shifts the onus of responsibility on the person who has the illness. Instead of saying to everybody else, maybe you shouldn't be contributing to the pollution on that particular day. But then if you're healthy, it becomes a more interesting question, yes? So, there are lots of things which are bad for our health, yeah? So, being unfit, being overweight are bad for our health. So, doing exercise is pretty good, yeah? But breathing high concentrations of pollution are bad. The current argument is the exercise benefits outweigh, yes, the air pollution benefits. But those assumptions assume you're going to exercise like that every day for the rest of your life, yes? And actually, I used to be quite fit when I was 20. I was moderately fit when I was 30. The wheels fell off when I was 40. And now I'm 50, I'm a shambolic husk of a human being. So it doesn't really work like that, to be quite frank. So that's the risk. So there is some damage, but there are other risk factors as well. Now, the Rotherhithe Tunnel, which I know quite well, yes, is about as worse a place as you could cycle. Yes,
I would have thought.
I think it's a good point, and I think just hearing it, because this is the thing about pollution or air, because it's everywhere. You don't, it sounds like such a simple thing, but just because I can't see the air in Rotherhithe Tunnel, it's like, oh, it's okay, it doesn't matter, but maybe I'll change my ways. But the other thing is, I just came back from Scotland yesterday. The minute I landed in Luton, or even worse, when we got to London, it just smelled of farts everywhere. Can anybody tell me what this is? I'm not joking. It wasn't just on the coach, it was everywhere. So is this what London air smells like to people from the outside?
Okay, so does London air smell? Being fit, does it kind of outweigh air pollution? Is it kind of like a bit of a quid pro quo? Is it about telling people with asthma to look after themselves, or should we be thinking about our behaviour on high pollution days?
Well, I just want to pick up on the smells of different cities, because I've got a friend from Budapest who always insists that Budapest smells of piss, but London smells of fried food. When you get off, he doesn't smell farts. He smells like frying. There's frying everywhere. But I've just recently come back from Edinburgh, which last time I went to Edinburgh, it smelled of twiglets. But I think now they've closed down the brewery, so Edinburgh no longer smells of twiglets, which is that yeasty smell, just in case people don't know what twiglets are. There you go.
Yeah, we had thought from Ian, and then Timna, I think.
So the fried food thing's really interesting. So when people measure air pollution outside and they measure particles in the air, yes, they're just measuring the amount of stuff, yes, it's very non-precise. And there have been studies going on where they're measuring what the stuff's made up of, yes, in real time. And one of the things which they've identified is there's a part of what we call PM 2.5, the small particles in the air, which is derived from cooking. It's known as the cooking aerosol, and they've been trying to work out what the major source of that cooking aerosol is. There's a group up in Manchester, and they create chambers and they try to recreate the sort of chemical signatures you see in outdoor air indoor, and the closest they can get to it, you know, simulating this signature in the air, basically is pan-fried belly pork. So it is, there is, and it sounds strange, there is a kind of bacon signature in the air of London. And I think maybe it is the case that you spend time outside London, somewhere with a more pristine, cleaner environment, and when you come back you notice things which you kind of filter out if you live here the long time. So I think there maybe is an element to that.
So yeah, I mean, what do different cities smell like? How do we test those? If a city smells of like frying pork, is that a problem? Are we worried about that? Timna, oh sorry, I promised, and then I ignored you.
I wanted to bounce back on the smell of Budapest, because you said your friend mentioned that it smells like piss, but for me Paris really smells like piss. And I literally have the impression you go to Paris, and for me I say no, like you have the impression people are weeing everywhere, like, and that's really impressive for me. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got.
I would just counter that and say I think it's dog shit.
Quite negative emotions.
Paris, you're in Central, walking around the parks in Paris. That's my prevailing sort of smell in the background.
Yeah, so we've got some quite negative emotions there. We've got Timna. Did you want to come back on that quickly, and then I'll go to Margot?
Yeah, I think for me, I come from Vienna and I see way more dog shit in Vienna. So for me, dog shit is more related to Vienna. But I'm wondering if, like, let's say when people are weeing in the streets of Paris or wherever, the particles which like might then go into the air, is this also like, could this have an impact on the air I'm breathing in?
Okay, so we've got what do cities smell like? Do you think a city smells bad? Do you think London smells bad? And so I'll go to Margot over here. If you're wondering, if you've got an opinion on what London smells like, come and sit down, come and talk to us.
I was just trying to think of what my hometown smells of, and I think I just can't decipher the smell. There isn't a distinctive smell. It's northeast Poland town, but it smells of my mum's cooking. That's kind of what it smells of. But I wonder, like, because piss, right? As we're discussing it, you know, the acid in wee is actually good for melting hard skin on your heels and stuff, but the smell is upsetting. So I think it's just not good for your mental health, because you're going to be walking around going like like, you know, like this, and it's just not good on your mental health. It may be healthy, I don't know, maybe it's...
Okay, so Margot's kind of bringing a new topic. It was like how something smells around you. I guess maybe you could link that to air pollution as well. Does it affect your mental health, not just your physical health? Mikey?
Yeah, but I think it's a two-way thing, because I think we associate certain smells with certain moods, you know, and like, for example, for me, I really hate the smell of kimchi. I thought it was disgusting. Smell, I don't know why. But maybe there's some traumatic event that happened in my distant past with kimchi. What I find interesting is how, you know, the smells of cities seem to be different for different people, and it is that kind of personal thing. It's like we identify one smell as somebody else identifies another smell, and we kind of, you know, we've got a very kind of personal identification of each city. So for you, Paris is dog poo. For you, it's piss. For me, it's yeah, exactly. Chanel, yes, and they'll walk through the park and yeah. I
mean, it's quite interesting. A lot of people brought up a lot of negative smells that they associate with cities. You associate it with bad things. I mean, is this something that you just associate with cities? Are there places that smell good?
I was just going to say, smell's a really complicated one, yes, because the nose is incredibly sensitive. It's like the most sensitive piece of sensing equipment you could ever imagine, and that's even just the human nose before you go to animals. Yes.
Oh wow.
So people often complain about smells, but the concentration of the thing they're smelling is astronomically low. Probably beneath the concentration it will have a health effect, which is strange. But having said that, if that smell is something which they find disturbing, even if it's not enough to cause a physical symptom, it can still have a degrading effect on their mental health. And people are studying that, and it's a big issue, especially in London. There are lots of areas where people are developing brownfield sites, and the people who live around those brownfield sites are complaining because many of them are ex-industrial sites, the land was contaminated. That during reclamation of that land, they're being exposed to chemical vapours, and that sometimes it's the smell which triggers, and even if ultimately they say, oh, it's safe, the levels are low, it's still having a degrading effect on the quality of their life.
Wow, okay, so Ian sort of pointed out that actually maybe you can have a smell, it might not impact your health, but it can impact your mental health. Come and have a sit down with us. We've been talking about...
Worst smell.
Yeah, do you have a worse smell? Do you think there is a place in your life that smells really bad? Some people have been saying that Paris smells of wee, other people are saying dog poo, people are talking about Edinburgh smells of twiglets.
Used to.
Used to, anyway.
The backs of tube stations are pretty smelly, aren't they?
The backs of tube stations? Why? What do you...
The underground bits and the sort of like the long passageways, all the sort of sweat and the fumes and stuff. But, yeah.
And does that impact you? Does that make you not want to take the tube, or...?
It just makes me walk faster.
Okay, but it impacts in your behaviour, right? So maybe this is something that smells can actually affect how we behave?
I mean, about that, I had this kind of a moment of reflection yesterday when I was waiting for bus number 36 at the Victoria, and then it was a really overpowering smell of piss there, and I just thought, oh, what a strange thing, like Victoria, such a grand name for a really pissy area, like it's really, you know, I just thought, oh, that's things have changed. But then there was a group of young guys, like really, you know, in their 20s, looking, you know, just going out. They were kind of, and lots of like really dressed up people. So it made me think of, or maybe there are places to go out, and I wonder whether we are just naturally drawn to these like disgusting kind of, you know, questionable areas of life. Like, you know, the biggest, the most influential clubs and kind of nightlife happens in those dingy kind of, I don't know, docks or backs of tube stations, you know, that kind of stuff. So maybe we just kind of lean into the disgusting because it's maybe we're looking for some thrills there. I don't know. I just had these thoughts.
So maybe there are sort of things that we associate, like negative smells, like wee, but actually we maybe associate them with like an underground culture or excitement, or there are bad smells that we can kind of enjoy. Maybe.
Well, I do think, you know, sometimes a bad smell, it's like the dogs, you know, the kind of smells that dogs are attracted to are the kind of smells that we'd like to avoid. When a dog says hello, you know, it goes to this bit that it likes to smell the most. There we go, ball on the tripod. What's your least favourite smell? That's what we're talking about here. Yeah, anyway, go on.
Yeah, Timna behind me.
Yeah, coming back to your question, I think it's more about, it's a question of taste. I think like some people, just to give an example, there's this perfume from Jean-Paul Gaultier. It's a bottle, a male body shape, and I think a lot of people really like it, and I literally really can say I hate it. For me it's like it smells like pee. Sorry if any one of you has this, but I think it's just a taste. I think smells are also, yeah. So with the coming back to the to the undergroundy thing, I think if people like that, yeah, they might be drawn to this.
Brilliant. So we've been talking about smells. We've got a couple of new faces around the table. I'll just take your names quickly. Tom.
Mikey.
We've got Esther, and maybe we've got some people joining us over there. They've run away.
I'm
Timna.
Margot.
My name's Ian.
And I'm Evie, I'm in the middle. And we've been talking, we've kind of covered quite a lot of ground already. We sort of started talking about asthma, then we talked about places that smells effect on mental health, the fact that you might like some smells but other people might hate them. But I don't know, where we're going to go from here? I'm going to go for Mike
Well,
first,
I just want to talk about the smoking ban that happened in 2007, which is kind of ancient history now, but I remember it clearly because I remember sort of thinking, this is an infringement on people's civil liberties. But after 2 days of, like, you know, coming back from the pub, not stinking of smoke, and not, you know, I thought my hangover was from drinking, but it wasn't. It was from passive smoking. And it felt so much better. I was like, yeah, this is a good idea. But the downside of it is suddenly all the pubs and bars suddenly smelt of farts. Because people were letting out cheeky ones and it was being masked by the smell of the smoke all the time.
Okay, have we got any responses to that?
I just in the defence of farts, hydrogen sulfide's actually got slightly beneficial health effects in the body, and it doesn't cause cancer. So I would accept the fart over second-hand cigarette smoke any day of the week.
Wow, that's quite interesting. Apparently, so smelling someone else's farts is good for you. Apparently, who knew? I'm quite shocked from that. I'm not even sure where to go from that. That's really interesting.
No, I just want to talk about this.
Yeah, very good information.
But I also think like smell is something that kind of has got some snobbery attached to it. Like, you know, perfumes, like, what a waste of money. Like, honest to God, like, we have a really nice natural smell, even if it's farts sometimes. Like, we all produce it. Let's embrace it. So, like, beat down with perfume is just such a... Honestly, just grinds my gear.
Okay, so Margot, she's very anti-perfume. She doesn't like perfume. She thinks we should embrace the way that we sort of smell as humans. But what is a natural human smell?
I think it's again taste. So I kind of agree halfway with you. I'm not a big fan of a lot of perfume, but there are a lot. I would say you can literally can't smell other people, like just the chemicals. You might know more about this, like, which you can't really smell, and I think for this I would prefer someone using perfume that I can enjoy their presence more. Wow, this sounds really shit.
No, okay, so we're talking about that smell is so divisive, perhaps. You know, it can make people angry, it can make people upset.
I guess what I'd say is it's still a cocktail of chemicals which somebody's put in a bottle and you're electing to spray, you know, on your cheeks, under your armpits, washing your body with. It's a source of chemicals which contribute to air pollution, particularly in the home. Your bathrooms, your cleaning products in your kitchens, that's a chemical cocktail, many of the chemicals of which have never really been evaluated for their safety over the long term in humans, and we're rather laissez-faire, I think, about all of the chemicals we're quite happy to douse ourselves in, especially if they remove some of the less, should we say, satisfactory odours of the human condition.
Oh, interesting. So we're talking about sort of pleasant, unpleasant smells. Then we kind of brought up, like, well, you know, any pleasant smells might be a concoction of chemicals. How do we feel about introducing chemicals into our lives? Are they cleaning products? Are they perfumes? Are they, I don't know, are they cooking smells?
I mean, I think it's interesting. I personally think we are much more affected by bad smells than good smells. And this is part of the human condition, that we are, the negative has much more of an impact than the positive. So, you know, for me, the perfume smells that I remember are the perfumes of people that I don't like, or I've, you know, had an argument with, or, you know, a girlfriend that I've split up with, or something like that. And I don't remember necessarily the good smells. It's like, so I think it's really interesting how we do, I think we associate more, you know, we do pick on the more negative smells rather than the positive ones.
Okay, so we're talking about what we pick up on. We kind of mentioned maybe a bit earlier about what kind of chemicals we're introducing to our house. Are we aware of it? Margot?
Last night I was buying a washing powder, but not... maybe it's too much information, but I'm trying to get this one which is like compressed, like the little sheets that you put in the washing machine. Do you know which ones I'm talking about? So it's not powder, not liquid, because it's just like better for the environment, because the smaller, blah, blah, blah. So I've been using these, and quite successfully, so just ordering a second batch. But I also had a look at the other range of cleaning products, and I was just slightly tickled by the fact that you could buy bicarbonate soda cleaner for like £8 in a bottle, like in a box or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, this is a really good cleaner, and I'm like, this is so cheap, but they've just rebranded it and it's that now. But yeah, that's, I just wanted to say that. It's just like, yeah,
well, so yeah, Margot's trying to be more ethical, more green about your washing. Is anyone else sort of worried about these kind of things, about introducing green things in your home? Do you know much about it? I'm going to Tom, there's a bit of a flick over here.
Yeah. The one thing that's got me thinking recently is like those fragrance sticks. I don't know what they call them. You know, those little bottles where you, the oils and you stick.
Diffusers, yeah,
so I went to my mum's house and she had like one in every room, and everywhere in the house there's like a different scent in each room. But it's quite an acrid scent that really sticks to the back, and I just was wondering what on earth is that doing to me and everyone else.
Yeah, we're talking about like fake smells, well, not fake smells in your home, but do you use like diffusers or candles or anything in your house?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. I guess, like, why do you use them? Are you using them because you just want for your mental health, to mask some smells? Why are you using them?
Smell. I just like good smells.
Yeah?
I want to walk into my house and smell
nice smell. That's all.
Fair enough, fair enough. We're talking about kind of like smell, air pollution, being green. Ian, did you want to...
So I'm often regarded as Dr. Deaf because I come and I tell people things they don't want to hear, but things like incense and scented candles produce more particles and more volatile organic carbon chemicals in the air than somebody smoking in your house. And it's one of those moments where the nice smell is actually covering the sins of the combustion, yeah? And you really, you know, again, it's one of those things, you just do it, you don't think about it, it smells nice. It might actually make you feel better internally, but this is the one occasion where what you're breathing as a consequence might actually be bad for your health.
Interesting. Okay, so, I mean, Mikey, you've got a question for that?
There's this wood that people have started, it's called Palo Alto or something like that, some kind of wood, scented wood. And I was suspicious about this, but I didn't have necessarily the ammunition to... My girlfriend burns this stuff, and it's just like a bit of wood, burning a bit of wood, basically. And I'm sure it's very, very unhealthy. I sort of agree with you. Because it just produces all this smoke, and you kind of smoke, it's a shamanic thing, you smoke, you kind of do this thing, but I've always been a little bit suspicious that that is actually more toxic than it is, you know, it's supposed to purify the spirits or something like that.
Okay, so we've got, burning wood, burning sage, burning candles. Are they good for us? Are they not? Ian saying actually they're worse than smoking.
Yeah, I'm impressed by this fact, because I always have the impression that people like to offer candles. If they don't know what to offer you, they offer you a candle, and I think if they often want to offer you a more special candle, so they have a scented candle, do you call it? Yeah, and so I'm like impressed. So actually, it would be healthier to offer someone a package of cigarettes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would suggest neither as an option. But it's an odd one, and I think it's really important because particularly this winter, when people are going to be scared about switching on their electricity, about heating their homes, you're going to have people potentially thinking, well, I can use the candles. I've got all those candles my Aunt Maud has been buying me for the last 20 years in the cupboard. I can use those. We can save some energy there. Maybe we should go to the skip and get some wood. Maybe we can put those in our fireplace and keep... And I think we, you know, in addition to all the other problems which are coming, we may end up making our indoor environments where we live much more unhealthy, in addition to the cold and the absence of good food and all the other compounding things which are going on at the moment.
Interesting. So yeah, one of the results of the cost of living crisis might be worse indoor air pollution potentially.
I mean, I've got 2 points. One is that in Poland, a lot of people burn any old crap in the ovens, not ovens, but you know the stoves, yeah, and that's causing a lot of pollution. So recently there was like a big government endorsement to change to gas, and now the gas prices have gone up, so people are really pissed off. I don't know what the situation is like here. But the second one is, you know how you're going to have these scientists hopefully going into people's homes, like what if you don't like your scientist's perfume that they're using, like, or the other way around, what if you come in, it's like, oh, it's too much smell of, I don't know, Polish food or something, I just can't hack it. Like, what do you do then? How do you negotiate that?
So is your thought that actually if you want to find out a bit more about indoor air pollution, you have to invite someone into your house? Yeah. What, you know, I guess what is the impact of inviting people to your homes? Can that also impact air pollution, I guess? Am I right in kind of summing that up?
Yes, and also the different cuisines produce more pollution.
Oh, okay, so yeah. Can someone come visiting you increase indoor air pollution? Can different cuisines produce more air pollution than others?
Well, I just wanted to, I mean, I'll leave it kind of up to you, Ian, where you want to take this, but I live by the canal, which is great for property prices. However, there's a whole fleet of boats outside my house burning this wood. They burn everything, and they burn these coal briquettes. And I am especially it's on certain days when the air doesn't rise very much and the smoke kind of just stays. I'm at ground floor level. I'm just thinking this cannot be good for any. But also, of course, I'm more concerned about those people that live in those boats, obviously, than me. But I do wonder if that's really healthy to all that canal boat stovage that happens.
We've got Ian. Have you got some responses
well, the
here?
answer to your question is it's not very healthy. And the only reason they can do it is because there was a little stipulation in the original Clean Air Act which didn't apply to waterways. So they can continue to burn things. I mean, it's changing a little bit, but essentially burning anything's pretty bad. In your home though, in the cooking, gas cooking, that's pretty bad because it forms a gas called nitrogen dioxide. Frying things in a frying pan in a wok, that's bad. So if you're frying things in a wok, in a pan, on gas, probably smoking at the same time, if you fried English breakfast, you're doomed.
You're doomed. Unless you're farting, in which case there might be some good health benefit. We've got a new face at the table, so I'll just do a little quick round of names.
Margot.
Bob.
Ian.
Tom.
Mikey.
I'm Timna.
And we've got Evie in the middle over here. So yeah, we've been talking about a lot of activities in your home, maybe increase indoor air pollution. We've been talking about different types of cooking. We've been talking about the canals and the fact that actually a lot of people can burn wood on the canals, and actually that's quite bad for London and presumably other places. Where are we going to take this, guys?
I wonder whether we should just outsource the notion of cooking. Do you know what I mean? Like, okay, in the house, just install some pumps that pump oxygen, right? So everyone's like really kind of happy and just oxidized. But then the cooking can happen kind of on the periphery of the city. It's a kind of communal cooking. It's probably going to be good for the environment. And just get your food delivered, because, like, you know, after all, maybe delivery can be used for something positive. But yeah.
Okay, so you think maybe like outsourcing cooking on a mass scale more positive?
Because why do we have to cook in our houses? Like, why? Houses are for like living and sleeping and just like, you know, chilling out. Like, why do we have to cook there as well? It's like a whole different separate thing.
Okay, so we've got maybe Margaret's like anti-cooking in the home.
I'm pro cooking because I think that a lot of people I mean, would eat healthier if they're cooking by themselves. And I also think that it kind of creates the environment of home. A lot of people, when we were speaking about smells, are speaking of, oh, when my mother is cooking, it smells like that, or Christmas smells like this when our moms or whoever does like biscuits. Yeah.
Okay, so cooking is quite an emotionally important activity.
I mean, yeah, I think we should outsource cooking, but apart from for me, because I enjoy doing it. but maybe it could be done in a special cooking centre, like some kind of Soviet cooking centre where you can actually, cooking plant. But because I think there is something creative about cooking, but I do think cooking at home is incredibly wasteful. I throw out a broccoli once every 1 or 2 weeks where I don't eat the broccoli, but I intend to eat it, and that's incredibly wasteful.
Okay.
That could go into a broccoli, stir fry or something being made by Tesco's.
There's some nods from Bob over here.
Although if you do throw away sort of food that you don't use, you can put it in the compost and then sort of give it back to nature and obviously grow more plants with it. So there can be a cycle if you're lucky enough to have like an allotment or whatever.
Okay, so you've got composting as a solution.
Well, apart from the fact I quite like the idea that you'd have hot water, cold water and goulash on tap, which would be an interesting phenomenon. People just need to learn how to cook, I think, and that means we need to educate people a lot better, because if you're going to outsource it, you have to consider how much it costs collectively, not just, from the transport, the consolidation, how much energy is used in that process, yeah? And I think what you would find is there'd be a rush to the lowest common denominator, and people would just be eating fried chicken the whole time. You'd end up with an unhealthier population, and you'd end up with more pollution than you wanted. I'd be much better if people just taught to cook in a way that they actually it cost less for them initially because they were using normal ingredients, and that they were taught so that they didn't waste. That would be essential. And I think it's doable, but nobody seems to be that keen on giving that information out.
Okay, so there's some big ideas. So do people know how to cook? Do we need to teach people how to cook better, less wastefully?
Do we know how much we're spending on the NHS for curing all the diseases that come from cooking really badly? Because maybe that outweighs how much, cooking per person costs? You know, what I mean is like, is it cheaper to eat chicken, or is it cheaper for the collective, you know, the government, the society, whatever, to pay for people's medical bills? I'm just curious, because I think that kind of came up earlier on as well. It's like about this collective responsibility, or is it about individuals? Are we collectively responsible for the pollution, and do we palm it off to the government to sort out, or is it just like, oh no, I'm just not going to burn candles? Does it actually even matter?
Okay, well, some big ideas over here. Anyone want to respond to them? So it's about collective responsibility, individual responsibility.
So it's the debate is bigger than food. It's about whether what you should be doing is using the National Health Service as an emergency to deal with... I mean, it's not a health service, is it? It's not a health service, it's a disease maintenance service. That's how we treat it, yes. A health service would be spending much more time preventing people from getting unnecessary diseases as they age, and ensuring that they age well, yeah? And if you took that argument, what would you do? You'd say, okay, well, as a population, we're a bit overweight, so maybe we should do something focusing on that. We probably eat far too much red meat and processed food. Maybe we should subsidise fruit and vegetables. Maybe we should ensure that in schools they feed children healthy foods and give them training so that they can do that. Maybe we should accept, I mean, I don't know the costs for food, but the costs of outdoor air pollution in terms of the United Kingdom is somewhere between 10 and 20 billion pounds per year. Yeah? So
When you say cost, what do you mean?
that's people dying prematurely, people being sick, work absences, totally across the economy. Very often what you'll find is these sort of lifestyle effects have been quantified really accurately by the scientific community, yes? So we know how much they cost, and in all cases it's better to prevent the disease than it is to spend money dealing with the disease. And ultimately our health system doesn't work terribly effectively. What you really want is to get people to live well, have enough money to treat the people who have diseases which, you know, their lifestyles haven't contributed to, and maybe have enough money to deliver proper palliative care at the end of life, which we're appalling at in this country.
Okay, so quite a lot there. Is it the National Health Service? Is it the National A&E Service? We're not really helping people live healthy lives. How should we kind of allocate that funding? Mikey?
Well, this is a little bit of a tangent, but that's Talkaoke. But a couple of years ago, we had the Talkaoke on mental health, and it was mental health and artists, and they came up with this idea there should be a national art service that helped people express their creativity, and that would have a fundamentally huge effect on people's mental health. And instead of policemen, they should have like pro-social kind of people that would actually intervene in a positive, fun way into people that were not enjoying themselves. So yeah, I sort of agree with that. I think the National Health Service should be more about that as well. You know, maybe it's not a National Health Service, maybe it's a different service, like a National Fund Service or something like that. Fun, yeah, a fun fund.
What do we think? We've got some other faces at the table. Tom, have you got any opinions on this topic?
The National Health Service?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just wondering, because Ian's telling us to cook more at home, but he's also telling us we can't do lots of cooking activities. So what can I cook with? Is it just salads in the microwave, or...?
Yeah, so it's an interesting point. We want to eat healthily. We want to cook at home, cook good food, but we're also kind of grappling with things of like, actually, if I'm stir frying a very healthy meal, it's actually bad for my lungs.
So it's about education and practicality. So if you've got a gas cooker and you're frying, you need an extractor fan. You need to have your extractor fan on, so you're taking away the pollution, yes? So and we probably, let's face it, should be transitioning against gas, but we could have said that 12 years ago, couldn't we, for various other reasons. So we need to move towards methods of cooking which are lower pollution, and if we have those older methods, we should be using technologies which limit the risks associated with that activity, yes? I think it's not about, and it's difficult because you're asking people to change the way they have traditionally approached things, and people, it's like the smoking ban. Everybody will imagine that that's just an imposition on your personal freedom, and society will fall apart and there will be riots on the street. But actually, as long as you can have a sensible debate and people can see a benefit as a consequence of the action, people generally are quite able to accommodate these differences. People are quite able to polarize people's opinions about these things if they don't want them to happen.
Brilliant. Okay, so it's something that we can get used to in many ways. You know, it might be an uncomfortable change, but it's a change for the better. We've been talking about the NHS, that maybe it's a bit too reactionary. We want to have something that's a bit more proactive with our health. Where are we going to go from here?
I think that the government in general has a lot of responsibility, because I was just thinking about plastic, and doesn't plastic also pollute not only our food if we pop it into the wrong, like, let's say, containers? And so I would say, why don't we just ban plastic and use other stuff?
Okay, so similar sort of using plastic examples, that's something that you want government change for rather than collective change. Why don't we ban plastic? Is putting your food in a plastic Tupperware bad for you?
I don't think plastic is that bad, you know, because look at a penguin. It's like, lives in plastic. It's got plastic in its bloodstream. It's fine. That penguin, there's nothing wrong with that penguin.
So Mike is kind of saying, yeah, maybe it's fine. We've kind of lived this long so far. Bob, have you got any thoughts?
Well, sorry, I wasn't thinking about the plastic and the penguins thing, but I was just thinking about what you were saying about preventing disease and how, you know, telling people, you know, how they should cook, you know, healthier. I get the feeling that people do know what to eat, and, you know, if they had stir fries or whatever, that would be better than Kentucky Fried Chicken. But at the same time, it's cheaper to buy you know, lower quality foods that are going to be more likely to contribute to disease. So how do we change that?
How do we change that? Have we got suggestions around the table on this?
I mean, they're not going to like it, but it's what government and taxation is for, yeah? People don't like the idea. I mean, there are lots of people who have philosophical objections to the idea that government plays a role in, you know, deciding what is good for the health of the population. But ultimately, it's the government who picks up, well, the state, which picks up the health consequences, yes? So it's all a matter of balance. Can we afford to allow our population to become ill because we don't proactively encourage healthy living? So no, it should be completely unacceptable that buying fresh fruit and vegetables is more expensive than buying processed food. But processed food is heavily subsidised and fruit and vegetables aren't. And the government should intervene to make sure that that is rectified so people have a healthy choice.
I take it as well as because we have a shortage of labourers in terms of farms and actually getting fresh fruit and veg. It could be easier in some way to get lower quality food than it could be to actually get fresh organic vegetables to people en masse.
Okay, so yeah, but maybe there's like an issue with not enough people actually being able to be farmers to getting food to people, so maybe that's why it's expensive. Ian saying like actually it's maybe a matter of taxation, we need to subsidise fresh fruit and veg. Are there any other solutions? Mikey's got some blueberries, but they're blueberries wrapped in plastic. Is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. I can't tell you, I'm in the middle, I can't give my opinion, so I have to rely on you guys to bring these ideas to the table. Timna?
I'm sure that Mikey has some blueberry bushes in his garden, and this is only a way how to store them, just to bring them here. What I want to say is, like, I think like kind of an utopic idea would be, yeah, we could all have an apple tree in our garden, but who can afford to have a garden in London, for example? So I think it's also a point of, money again.
Money, space, access. Mikey?
Just, so anyone wants blueberries, the last few things that, but I do have an apple tree and a blueberry bush in my garden. Although I haven't actually harvested a single blueberry from that blueberry bush, and my olive tree has produced about 24 olives in the last 3 or 4 years. So, yeah, even if you have got these things in your back garden, it's not really enough food for an individual.
Okay, so even if we could grow our own food, because I think, Bob, you brought up the fact that actually part of the reason things like fresh fruit and vegetables are more expensive is that they're perishable. You have to get people to pick them, they have to get to the shops. So actually maybe if we could, even if we could grow our own fruit and veg, would that be enough? Would that be enough to have a healthy lifestyle? Would we know how to cook them?
I also wonder why we aren't cooking insects yet, why that isn't a normal thing. Because people have been talking about that for years, and I don't see, you don't hear people like, oh, do you want to come over for some grasshoppers, sort of thing, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah, anyone have a feel?
It's because meat is so cheap. Meat is artificially cheap. And And if you can produce as much meat as we have in our supermarkets for people to eat an unhealthy, unrealistic, unhuman amount of meat on a regular basis, and you consider how much that costs, we could more than capably move to a more vegetarian based diet, and that could also include a transition. But until you make that scarcer, people are going to stay with what they know. And you know, I'm sufficiently old that I think I can probably think back almost 40 years. People were talking about the need to move to insects, and it's a perennial thing, but they don't, because it's not really an option, because they can just pick up some chicken. It may change as the cost of living just explodes over the next 12 months. Who knows?
But why, you know, why do we think that? Why do we think that people are so still? You know, we're saying that meat is bad for you, but people are keen on eating it so much. Why is that?
I think insects would have really made it when you can buy a corn cricket. Do you know what I mean? Like an artificial cricket nugget that's actually made from corn but tastes like insects. Then you know that insects have made it.
Okay, so Mike is saying it's maybe the packaging of like things like, why aren't we eating insects? Because they're not maybe that appealing. We need a corn insect, a corn sausage roll made of crickets, then we'll start eating them.
See, I think that's inspired, because I think if you made corn crickets, the meat eaters would be so upset that you weren't actually eating the insects themselves. They would go out and start eating them.
So we're Talkaoke. We've been discussing about eating meat, eating too much meat, eating crickets as a result. We've also been talking about the NHS and healthy lifestyles. I think that, and then at the moment we're just saying that maybe the problem with not eating insects in our society is they're not very appealing. We kind of need to package them up in an appealing way. Most importantly, I'm going to do a round of names. So over here,
Bob.
Elaine. Timna.
Mikey.
Tom.
Ian.
Brilliant. And I'm Evie. I'm in the middle. Yeah, where are we going to go from here? So we've got insects, we've got healthy living, we've got Timna over here.
Yeah, I think because someone said we have to wrap them up. Maybe we should just pour a lot of sugar out on a cricket, or wrap them up in chocolate, something like this. I mean, I should not eat that much chocolate, and I think I would never eat a cricket, but maybe I would eat a cricket wrapped in chocolate. Yeah.
We're discussing about things that we eat, healthy eating, and we were discussing about crickets. You know, they're a source of protein. Would you eat a cricket? Would you eat a cricket if it was wrapped in chocolate?
No, I don't.
It's alright. First of all, let us know your name.
Shamir.
Shamir, welcome Shamir. We've been talking about what we eat, what we cook, what's healthy. If we wanted more people to eat more crickets and less like chicken or beef or something because it's healthier for us, how could we do it? Tim is saying put it in chocolate, put a load of sugar on it, and then it's better for you. Do we agree? Do we disagree? Come on, guys, come and take a seat. We've got some seats over here. Mikey.
But I am a little bit concerned about Ian's worldview, because he's kind of saying that we shouldn't have, you know, like, we can't do the things that we enjoy doing, be it burning a fire in our own house or having a greasy fry-up, because it's bad for us. But surely we live to actually enjoy our lives, and you know, if you just had muesli for breakfast every day, it just wouldn't be fun, you know. And I think there's got to be a balance between health and enjoyment.
Health and enjoyment, there we go. And we've got a couple of more new people. Can you guys tell me your names?
My name is Omar.
Omar?
And my name is Hanan.
Hanan?
My name is Noor.
Pardon?
Noor.
Noor.
Yeah. I'm Timna.
Elaine.
Mariam.
Shamir.
Bob.
Ian.
Tom.
And we've got
Mikey
over here, and we've got Hammersmith and Fulham. Hi, Viz over there. My name's Evie. Welcome. So we're talking about things like some foods might be bad for you, but they're tasty. Burning a scented candle in your home might be not very good for your lungs, but it might be good for your mental health. What are our opinions on this? Are there things that you know that are bad for you, but you do anyway? A laugh from Elaine.
Enjoy a glass of wine.
Enjoy a glass of wine, for example. Anything else? Anything that we know is bad for us, but we like doing?
Enjoy a cup of coffee.
Cup of coffee? Yes, interesting. Coffee, is it bad for you?
Well, I just wanted to say, I don't personally think that people want to insist that coffee is bad for you because I think it's this thing that it's because it's so nice. People are desperate to find a way to find a reason that it's bad for you, but I don't actually think coffee is bad for you.
Elaine, before
give
you
us
go,
a final thought.
Give us a final thought to leave at the table before you leave.
Join a community garden association.
Oh, funny you should say that.
Well-being.
Are there health benefits?
Yes, of course there's health benefits. Mental, physical, definitely. Hammersmith Community Garden Association if you're interested.
Brilliant.
We're just around the corner at Phoenix Farm. We have an acre land full of vegetables, grow vegetables, fruits, everything. We have chickens, we have rabbits, fabulous for all the family and for everyone and for grown-ups.
Perfect. Thank you, Elaine. A brilliant final thought. And interesting because we were talking about growing food before. So yeah, so we were talking about things like, coffee. Mikey's saying, defending coffee, saying, actually, I think it's good for you. We've had some other things about people saying, it's bad for me, but I'm happy to sacrifice it.
I wanted to come back to the cricket chocolate situation because when I was a kid in kindergarten, we had this kind of challenge about eating ants. So I wanted to know if the kids would eat crickets or ants or worms. Maybe.
If someone told you that worms are good for you, would you try and eat them?
No.
No, why not?
They're yucky.
What is it about worms or insects that makes them yucky to eat?
We eat healthy food.
Healthy food. Okay, brilliant. Yeah. And what kind of things count as healthy food?
It's apples, bananas.
Apples, bananas. These are brilliant. Anything for Omar? Any other healthy food?
And carrots.
Carrots. That's a good choice.
And tomatoes.
Mhm.
And what else?
What kind of things? So what kind of things do we? So I think we've discussed about healthy eating, things that are good for you, things that are bad for you. We kind of actually unfairly earlier put to Ian. Ian was trying to say, oh, we need to be a bit healthier. We need to eat more healthy food. Maybe we should do less unhealthy things in our houses. Mikey over here said, well, but then you wouldn't really have any fun. So I feel maybe it's only fair to put that back to you, Ian.
Well, obviously I want everybody to be as miserable as they can possibly be. But I suppose the question, it does come down to this issue of moderation and then standing back from it and saying, do we think we've really got the balance right?
Oh. There we go. I'm going to pause you, Ian, because you guys, before you go, I've also been instructed to give you a sticker, very importantly. And can you give us any... You're going to leave us with an idea that we can talk about on the table. So a final thought. Can you guys think of anything as a final thought?
Oh. Sorry, but I speak a little English. I don't understand what all do you say, but I say what you like to live, what they make you happy, what they... Absolutely coffee and sleeping.
It's coffee and sleeping. I like those together. They're very good. You're a very alert person. You're very awake. Oh yeah, there's some potato printing.
Can I just ask Ian, like, how would you feel if everyone just drank like Huel, like sort of protein shake that's super healthy, doesn't destroy the environment, but that's all they eat, sort of 3 meals a day? How would you feel about that?
You could have a tap.
A tap of Huel.
Well, that would be the 4th tap, wouldn't it, after the goulash tap? No, I mean, I do think you need variety. I do think you need to enjoy life. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with a glass of red wine. It's never a good idea to drink an entire case at an entire setting. So it's about this kind of idea of just getting it right. But at the moment, I think, we don't have it right. We have an evidence would be that we have an obesity crisis. Yes, we have an alcohol crisis. Smoking is decreasing, but it's increasing in certain groups. Young women particularly are increasingly smoking as they're using it as an appetite suppressant, yes, to keep their weight down. So there are many ways in which our health is affected by the way we live, the things we eat, the air we breathe, the quality of the water we drink, for example. And what I think people need to know is it matters. It really matters to their health, both now, but also their health in 20, 30 or 40 years' time. So the consequences of some of these things are delayed, and that makes it really difficult. A bit like smoking, People smoke, it doesn't kill them, but it does, it just takes a pretty long time to get to it, and when it does, it delivers a whole host of really dreadful outcomes. And that's kind of what you want to do, not ruin fun, but prevents suffering in later life.
I like that. Okay, so yeah, Ian's saying actually being mindful of these things, it's not about stopping fun, it's about being mindful of your health later on.
I can think of a healthier appetite suppressant, a chocolate-covered cricket.
Well, and interesting, I think we talk about smoking. Does that also include vaping?
Can I just say as well, Ian, that nobody thinks they're being healthy when they eat fried chicken or smoke a cigarette or drink a whole case of wine. They feel reckless because psychologically, you know, they're not. I mean, either they're deliberately doing it as a one-off kind of, you know what, I'm going to be reckless today to treat myself, or they're generally reckless their entire lives. And I'd consider myself kind of one of those people. And that's something about mental well-being that has to come first before the dietary element. If you see what I mean, you can't teach a reckless person how to cook.
Interesting. Can you teach a reckless person how to cook? Is reckless behaviour something you can change?
So. Is a reckless person not therefore responsible for the people around them?
Okay, interesting. So I think that's been put to Bob, but maybe it's one that we can all think about as well. Like, if you are a reckless person, are you responsible for how you affect the other people around you?
I would say you are. On some level you are responsible, but the reckless person isn't thinking about that.
And how would you affect other? I guess, you know, if you go to a fried chicken shop, how does that affect the other people around you?
I'd pose that question to Ian.
Well, if you smoke and you smoke in a house, you're going to be damaging the health of the other people in the house. And then when you get old, you're going to probably increase your risks of chronic diseases. And then your loved ones will have to look after you as you become expensive, demanding, watch you decline terribly. You'll be psychologically damaging them because you didn't make the right decisions 30 or 40 years ago. You'll be costing the exchequer money for an unnecessary disease which you brought upon it, whilst saying why don't they spend money on that really important issue, and it's because they're spending it on you because you've got a disease you didn't need to have, and I could keep on going. But you know, I'm really framing myself as the killjoy of the universe here.
But do people agree? Do you think Ian's being a killjoy? I don't know.
I think related to smoking, I think people are addicted, so of course they can change, but I think they so I would suggest give people who have an addiction, maybe it's also addiction to sugar. I'm a really sweet tooth, so I would love if someone would give me the possibility just to have, let's say, I don't know how many therapy sessions I would need, but maybe give people with addictions a therapy session, like.
Okay, Tim is saying kind of maybe it's not quite reckless behaviour, maybe it's more addictive behaviour, and you slowly get addicted to these things, and you need help to kind of kick even small things, like, are you addicted to sugar? Oh no, maybe looking at other things right now, we'll get them later.
But I think it's part of, the whole thing of human freedom, our freedom of choices. I think that also covers how we want to die, to some extent, consciously or maybe not so consciously, because like we're all gonna die, so it's just a question of like which vices are you gonna lean into or not. That's why cancer is so annoying, because you could be like the healthiest person and it will just like develop into the stupidest place without you even knowing. But things that you can see, things that you put into your body, you're like, oh yeah, I'm making a choice. And it really doesn't matter in the end of the day, because you're still going to die. Just the cancer is just a bit like annoying because it's a surprise.
Okay, so Margot's saying, we've got such a lack of control that maybe in some ways if you're going to die anyway, then maybe you're just choosing what things are bad for you, what things might kill you off in the end.
I mean, I've had a couple of friends that have died of cancer, and it is not a nice way to die. So I think there's, I wouldn't choose it, but I remember there's different friends, but I remember when I was in my 20s, certain friends that smoked said, I'm not going to get cancer, based on nothing really, but this belief. People have got this belief it's not going to happen to them. Then it happens to them and they're like, why has this happened to me? But as you say, that's 20 or 30 years later.
Any responses to that?
Just to make myself sound even more dismal, it's because we have a really bad relationship with death in our society. We you know, I'm a big fan of memento morte, yes, remember death, because if you don't focus on death, how you're going to be in your age, the quality of your life as you age, then you become recklessly cavalier with your health during your adulthood and childhood and your adolescence, and it has a cost, yes, and you might be one of the lucky individuals who dodges the bullet. Everybody knows the 96-year-old woman at the end of the road who smoked 100 cigarettes a week, yes, who's become the patron saint of cancer, but nevertheless, you know, we have to bear in mind that these things do matter, and it's not about whether you're going to die earlier by a week, a day. It's about whether you're going to have a long, protracted decline, or whether you're going to live relatively healthy for a long time and then decline relatively quickly in a system which is set up to care for you at end of life.
I think a great point. I'm going to Bob and then Margot.
Can I just say that even the Queen used to smoke a fag a day. I think she still eats jam sandwiches once a day, but she doesn't have the fags. But I was going to say, I know I sort of said it before, but you're absolutely right in that people should feel more responsible for the outcome. That if they're going to live recklessly, that might, you know, their nearest and dearest might suffer the consequences of that. And I agree, people should be more mindful of that fact. However, those people who are living recklessly need to be psychologically healthy to be able to be aware that that's what they're doing. So it's not quite as simple as just being conscious of that.
Okay, so maybe there's a tangle here between your mental health, your physical health, and then how you affect other people. Whether you're maybe able to make these decisions. We've got maybe some people who might come and join us as well. We're talking about being healthy. Margot, you had a point.
If you hate the Tories, is it okay to live a really reckless life on a mass scale, so then they will have to just change their policies? And okay, I may not live to see this change, but maybe they'll get them to invest in good things or better things.
So you're sort of suggesting, as an act of like political protest, you're going to live a really unhealthy life and be like a burden on the state. What do we think? I think, Tom, you look like you're processing it. Any thoughts on that?
Don't know what to respond.
Don't know what to say? That's all right.
I think that is what has happened. That is, you've just described like the politics of the last 6 or 7 years. You've got a very depressed, despondent nation. We're lucky here in London, where we don't. When you do Talkaoke up in the north, you just see how, in a way, they've lost their way, and they've lost their sort of meaning and identity, and I think that is quite a lot of why the Tories did get voted in, because of this sort of like struggling to actually, and it's almost like a, for want of a better word, a fuck you to the nations. Like, well, you know, that's why we went for Brexit as a nation, not people around the table necessarily.
Okay, I mean, where do we want to go from here? So we're talking about living unhealthy as like an active process. We're talking about the fact that maybe the current government has caused a lot of apathy and maybe a lot of unhealthy lifestyles.
Well, I think it's connected to Bob's point that if you're not living life to the full, and you're not like waking up every day, I really enjoy this life that I'm living, and I want to make the most out of it, and I'm just the sunshine, the trees, the people, the stuff going on, but you're like actually depressed, and you wake up and go, oh, another day, another, you know, if you've even got a job, you're being victimized by your boss or whatever, then you're not gonna give a shit about, you know, the health consequences. And so that's why I think it's all connected. The mental health, you have to have this passion for life to actually look after yourself and look after the people around you.
Do people agree? Are we lucky in London? Do you think that's possible?
I think bits of London are lucky. I think there are some areas of London which are equally as depressed and have levels of deprivation which are breathtaking in a global city, and we shouldn't lose sight of that. I personally don't see any difference between mental health and physical health. I see them purely holistically. But again, if you want a healthy population, you've got to prevent people from becoming unhealthy. Yes, you've got to make sure that you have resilient and mental health education all the way through the school system to help people. Because at the moment, I take on board exactly what you're saying. It's difficult to encourage people to make good choices thinking about the future when that sounds very middle class, because they're more concerned about if they can feed their children or actually be bothered to get out of bed in the morning. So it's that sort of challenge which I think you can't ignore. It's important, yes, but it needs the same level of intervention, not to give up. But I think that's the key.
Yeah, so sort of, Margie, you wanted to add to that as well?
I just had a kind of half point, because how do, like, is it ever possible to kind of erase that device? Like, I mean, at what point will we start seeing that, you know, pursuit of a happy, fulfilled, healthy life is not just a middle class activity, you know? Or maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just wrong. I'm not middle class, but.
Are there any solutions? Is planning for a long, healthy life a middle class problem?
It's not a coincidence that the people who can afford good therapists can also afford good organic food, can also are also clean, also, you know, have automatic blinds that open for them in the morning, that have, you know, expensive audiobooks that tell them they're wonderful. You know, all of this stuff is part and parcel. For the person who has nothing and is feeling psychologically ill in any way, even in a small way, you know, this big dream of a healthy life is irrelevant.
Margot?
I would just like to big up my therapist. He only takes £20 per hour. Hackney Council, thank you.
Fantastic. So are there solutions? Is there hope? Margot just pointed out that she has a cheaper therapist. Are there other things that we can do to maybe counteract this apathy?
I think it's also coming back to community, and also, like, we were speaking of people who actually don't care about anything. Maybe they don't care about their own life, they don't care about others, but I think there are a lot of people like caring for others and caring for themselves. But maybe we should get more of these people, or I think it's not these people, I think maybe an attitude. But I think in the last couple of years we had more kind of the attitude, yeah, I just care about my own thing and my own life. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe this kind of, we've got more of a focus as a society on the individual. Maybe we want to start focusing more on a community. Maybe we want to join a community garden. I don't know, where do we go from here? Is that the solution, that we should be more of a community? How do we do that?
Yes, I think it is.
How do we do that?
Well, I mean, you know, I think we need to talk more. We need to interact more. Get off the phones as well. Get off the computer, and just go into real life. I mean, I don't know. I mean, talking about the metaverse, is that, you know, in terms of like people staying at home, is that actually a contribution to people's physical health as well?
Okay, so Mike is saying that, you know, actually things like smartphones, laptops, it's kind of actively working against creating a sense of community. Do you, like, does your phone stop you getting to know your neighbours, becoming a community?
I mean, I do wonder whether the question of like declining environment is ever going to be, or, you know, even pollution, like, is it ever going to be an issue?
Got a couple of seats here. We're talking about healthy living, making community. I'm sorry, I've interrupted you, Margot, but carry on.
No, that's okay. I mean, I just wonder, because if the AI, if the kind of technology is getting more real, are we going to be like fighting for like clean air in the AI world as well? So
oh, okay, there we go. So my name's Evie. We've got some new faces at the table. Welcome. We'll just do a quick round of names.
I'm Timna.
Margot.
Bob.
Ian.
Tom.
Mikey.
Mary.
Mary. Fantastic. Welcome, Mary. Well, we've been talking about, I think we were talking about sort of society. People are very individually focused. How do we create a sense of community? Maybe like this community festival here today. And Mikey brought up the fact that maybe it's phone use, increased use of laptops, increased use of a virtual space that's kind of stopping us be a community. Bob?
Having said that though, Mikey, I wouldn't even know about this event if it wasn't for Facebook. So, you know, on one level.
Does it bring us together? Does it not? Do we want to? Are you on Facebook?
Just around the corner. I just live around the corner. I live around the corner.
Oh yes.
Yes, so it's very handy for me.
So how did you hear about this event?
The leaflet came in the door.
Okay, so yeah, so maybe it's also physical kind of communications is better.
I'm on Facebook, but don't know too much about it. Imperial College taught me all I knew. They used to do classes for the seniors, and I was so happy going there. But then the COVID stopped it all. So whatever I learned, I was very happy that I did. Yeah.
So how did you? I mean, we're sort of talking about kind of community and learning classes.
We were here last week, or last year as well. We were here last year too. But there's a lot more people here last year. So I don't know why they're not here today.
Was it on Facebook maybe? Well, okay, so have you got a point?
Maybe they're watching a live stream. No, but yeah, maybe they're just still getting going, because I think we're going to like 6 o'clock or something. So, but what I wanted to say, like, for instance, I used to do interpretation in hospitals, and I went to it's a West London hospital, but I don't think it's around here. It's Brompton, so it's maybe more south, Royal Brompton. But they had a choir for people who have got respiratory issues. So they run a choir as part of the hospital offer, and I thought that was just so cool. So yeah, because I wouldn't necessarily know that like a research institution or like a hospital would have artistic stuff like that.
Okay. So Margot's pointing out that when she was part of a community choir in a hospital for respiratory patients, you weren't part of it. Quite a good idea, quite a novel idea. We've got someone actually who's got an NHS lanyard on. Are you part of a choir in the NHS?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely. What's your name?
I'm Philippa.
Philippa, welcome Philippa. And Ian, you sort of had a point that you wanted to add to that.
I was just going to talk about the Brompton Choir, because it's not just because being part of the choir gives the community and help. It actually helps with the regulation of breathing in patients with COPD, so it's actually clinically very beneficial for them to get that kind of regulation and that familiarity with breath control.
There you go. Bob, do you add something to that?
No,
you were nodding, so I wasn't sure.
So if singing is like good for breathing and for, I don't know, what did you say, like not lung capacity but breath control, like is like passionate talking, is it the same, or do you have to like up the game? Is there something particular about singing? I just wonder, I don't know.
Singing versus passionate talking.
I want to let you know how important singing is. I go to a nursing home where dementia people are, and they know every word of the songs. I sing with them.
Wow.
And that makes such a difference to them. But we also have a singing group in the Irish Centre in Hammersmith, so we sing there as well. But with the dementia people, they've no idea who we are, but the minute you start the song, they join in.
Gosh,
so
that's fascinating.
It's really wonderful. Yeah.
Word perfect.
Word perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do we think that is? What is it? What is it about music? I don't know. Anyone got anything to add to that?
I think it's like a different. This is having read half of an Oliver Sacks book. I believe it's because the musical memory is in a different part of the brain. That's what Oliver Sacks said in that particular book. But I've got a question for Philippa, because you are now representing the whole of the NHS. We were talking earlier on, saying the NHS are looking down the wrong end of the telescope because they are focusing on sick people when we should actually be focusing on keeping healthy people healthy, with much more interventions before they get sick into lifestyle, community, mental health and all that. That's what we were saying earlier on. I don't know if the NHS, represented by Philippa, agrees or disagrees with that idea.
I suspect a lot of it has to do with media, and you see lots of things where you see GPs, you see the ED, which everybody else calls A&E, and whatever else, people lining up in corridors, etc. A huge amount of time, effort, and of course money goes into preventative work, it goes into well-being, and it starts at yay age. So I understand what you're saying, and obviously if you don't look after yourself, you're going to have long-term conditions coming on, and we've got an aging demographic in the country. Everybody's living much longer than anybody anticipated, and we've got drugs that keep more people alive. So valid question. I haven't got figures to hand, but I would dispute what you're saying.
That's exciting. What kind of things might we have been part of that we might not have realised, for example, of that sort of preventative work?
For example, at the moment, what we're doing at the Parkview Health Centre, we are running health advice, mental health advice, paediatric, obesity. There's all kinds of things that we're actually endeavouring to do and bringing people in, and it's the community. We have to get the community in.
Okay, brilliant. So yeah, so the things that you're doing in Parkview, it's not just about making sure people are eating fruit and vegetables, it's about making sure they've got good mental health, that you're creating a community in the first place. I'm going to turn myself down a little bit, there we go. We've got a few more new faces at the table. We might have already forgotten each other's names, so I'm just going to start over here.
Margot.
Philippa.
Bob.
Ian.
Mark. Tom.
Mikey.
Mary.
Timna.
And we've got over here in the green shirt, we've got... Will, hello, and I'm Evie. I'm sitting in the middle, and we were sort of, we had Philippa here, who's got that difficult job of representing the whole NHS, so we were putting some questions to her about should the NHS be about just fixing people up, or should it be about being intervening early, making sure that people are healthy from the get-go? Philippa's saying actually there's quite a lot of work that you don't really see, but that they are doing that. We've got Ian over here who knows quite a lot about air pollution, specifically indoor air pollution. How that affects us. He might tell you to not burn a scented candle. Where are we going to go from here, guys? We've got loads of people. Oh, and we've got a new face on the table. What's your name?
Oh, my name is Mercy Ume.
Brilliant, welcome. Timna.
Yeah, just coming back to your question, I think we were speaking about air pollution, and Mary just mentioned the course she made, I think, pre-pandemic about, was it a Facebook course? I don't know, or by Imperial. Yeah, exactly. And I think, as you've presented it, I think it was kind of an advantage for you, and I think just... Let's say, I would say an unsexy word, educating people is also pretty nice, because of course, I think in the beginning we spoke about air pollution, which we can't see, and knowing that this tunnel is so polluted would maybe make me now wear a face mask even more when I ride my bike. Yeah, so I think educating people, maybe.
Okay, so you're saying that it's not just about maybe subsidising healthy food, which is good for a long life, it's also about just giving people information in the right way.
I kind of generally have a question for everyone, but also especially for Ian, which is that if we all were very healthy and we all did live, almost forever, if our health kept getting better and better, in the end, would that not somehow end up costing the NHS more in looking after all of us who were all living to 125 than if some of us, shift off our mortal coil or whatever at the age of 50?
I'm going to let Ian answer that, if there are other answers.
I just love the idea of the virtuous long-term suicide to prevent the NHS from having long-term costs. There's this concept, which is it's an ageing research, and it's very cold. The language is called the rectangularization of the life course, yes? And it says people don't live longer. There's an absolute ceiling in reality. And in fact, in some places, it's actually going down for the first time in a generation. What it's about is maintaining optimal health. Yes, for as long as you possibly can. You're going to die, but it'd be quite nice if that decline was quite rapid, yes, and there was sufficient palliative care in place to look after you during that decline. So it's really about preserving the quality of your life, not really trying to endlessly push the duration of your life forward. And if you live well and healthily in age, you reduce the pressures on the NHS, but in order to do that you need to educate people from when they're young, and that's absolutely essential.
There's a lot of nods around the table. Anyone, Mark, do you want to add anything to that? Or?
Well, I was just going to say something about air pollution, because we were talking about it. I'm with the Friends of Wormholt Park, and one of the things about air pollution is often they're framed as scientific problems, but a lot of these things are political problems, because for example around here the council in a number of cases cuts down trees. We don't know why. For example, they've been resurfacing the pavements. Now they've dug the pavements up completely to resurface them, so when they dug them up, why didn't they plant trees when they were digging them up anyway? I mean, there are a lot of these things that don't really that are political issues about how we decide to conduct ourselves. And they keep saying they need more scientific knowledge. We don't need more scientific knowledge. For example, we know trees stop air pollution, but we need to do something about it practically.
Okay, brilliant. So yeah, the idea that we actually have a lot of knowledge, but there's no way that we can implement it. I mean, yeah, is the cutting down of trees around here quite a big problem?
They planted the trees, but then they never looked after them. That came up because our lady who did the corners there got an award. Mark was at it, I was. And they said they disagreed with the council because they put these lovely trees in, but they never maintained them, and then the trees died. So that was bad, you know, if there was somebody to go around and water them when they were young.
And is that because, you know, like, why is that? Why have we got these things where people plant trees or mend roads, but then it doesn't sort of follow through?
Well, can I come in on that?
Yeah.
Well, what it is it's a political issue, because what the council does, it has capital spend. So it's able to spend to start, but then there's no maintenance put in place. There's no maintenance schedule and no assessment of ongoing cost. And it's partly to do with how budgets operate. So one thing we have to do is start getting budgets to run over year end, so that we have the financial arrangements for effective long-term maintenance.
Brilliant. So, yeah, I mean, it's a tricky one. Where do we go from there? Do you want to add to it?
At times we do blame council, but at times we have to blame ourselves. If we see that the trees are running out of water, can't we? If it's in front of your house, can't you water it? So it's responsibility of every one of us, not only the council. So let us stand up and take our own responsibilities as well.
Brilliant. So if you see a problem, actually, shouldn't we just be acting it rather than just waiting?
I mean, we were doing Talkaoke exactly a month ago in Shoreditch, and everyone was talking about, this road could be all green. And then actually there were lots of these kind of, you know, they've got these little square pots with all these bushes in, and all the bushes were dead because nobody had watered them. And everyone on this table, same table, was going, this road could all be green, but actually no one had actually bothered to water all the plants that got put in. I mean, is that down to the council, or is it down?
You got something to add on this one?
No.
Yeah.
There's a tree on my street, and it's council put there, please water this tree if you can. Each time I come out there, I cannot see anybody doing that. So I go out there to water it. So it's responsibility of, because council is, there's no short of funds and all those things. It's okay, council, government. What of us taking responsibility for where we live? So I think we all are equally to blame.
So it's all about, yeah, we're equally responsible, equally to blame. I believe I'm going to go to Philippa, but Mark, you're leaving, so leave us with a final thought.
Well, I think that's right, that it's also down to us, but it's about us working with the council to decide what the council's responsible for and what we as a community are responsible for and what's reasonable on both counts, and then try and get us engaged to do some of that, really.
Brilliant, that's a great point. So yeah, what's reasonable between what we need help from the council, what we can do ourselves. Philippa, you were nodding your head, shaking your head.
Well, sorry, is it Ian?
Mark. There we go.
It's close. You mentioned that dreadful word, politics. If anybody looks at the decimation of local authority budgets over the last 5 to 10 years, councils have really very, very difficult choices to make, because it is, I'm afraid, watering a tree will come way down the list. So we've got to look at central government. We can do things as a community, but we can't do it with no money. And I've got to go as well.
That's okay.
I've got to leaflet.
That's brilliant. Anything else you want to add as your final thoughts?
Well done, you guys. Have a great day.
Thank you very much, Philippa. Thank you for that final thought. So yeah, we were talking about council funding.
I forgot to mention, this is Frances, who represents the council. This is her mum, who was the mayor of Hammersmith.
Oh, we've got VIPs in the house. Is that wonderful?
Frances in school when she was 5. I was at dinner.
Fantastic. So is it Frances?
Yes,
Frances, yeah. And then
Catherine.
Catherine?
Yeah.
Move in, Catherine.
Come on in. My name's Evie. I'm sitting in the middle. We've got over here
Mary.
Mercy.
Timna. Margot.
Over here.
Bob.
Ian.
Mikey.
Fantastic. And we were talking about collective responsibility, what's reasonable. We were talking about, I think, planting trees on the street. Should it be the local person who's watering them? Should it be the council? What's reasonable to expect from your council, from each other?
I mean, I do think there is an issue. You know, there is. I think we also need to encourage people to be more. You know, like for example, in my block where I live, it's Hackney. It's not Hammersmith. There was a lady that wanted to brighten up the block, so she painted all the banisters different colours, and the council made her paint it all back to the same colour. And you know, I think I was very. I'm actually supposed to be the head of the residents committee, and I said, yeah, that's a great idea, but I didn't think that she would give that as a permission to do it. But you know, that's the thing, is we're not actually enabling people to, you know, the problem with councils, I think traditionally, is that we, you know, it's almost like a sort of thing that we are not even allowed to participate in it. There's not that kind of interface that there is with people kind of being enabled and being, you know, okay, I'm going to take the initiative. Well, in this case, in my block, that was punished, and I think that means that people are actually discouraged from taking the initiative rather than actually getting out there and watering those plants.
Mercy, you've got some thoughts you want to add to that?
Yeah, thank you. That's a very good idea. But the thing is, if we allow everyone to paint the colors they want, the estate will look quite different. It's good for all of us to talk about it, agree to it, and then she can do that painting. Council will always support where there's a majority of people saying the same thing, but not when it's only one person taking that lead. It's not as advisable because others will follow suit, and we have no control over that. So that's the answer.
Okay, so just one person's choice might not be everyone's choice. It needs to be something that people agree on.
Exactly.
Timna?
Yeah, it's coming back a bit to community, and I think one important thing in community is also that we can say, no, I don't agree with that, and it's still okay, because I think often in community people think, oh, we all have to agree on everything. No, we don't have to, because we all can have different opinions on things. So yeah.
Okay, yeah.
What I'm trying to say is not that, you know, it's when, if like in everything, like politics, it's a question of number. If you have 20 people agreeing to it, council will support that. Not when you have 2 people agreeing among 20 people. I don't think is advisable.
Yeah, so we're sort of talking about community buy-in. Can you just paint your block? Do you need to have more than one person agree with you that it's a good idea? We've got a new face at the table. What's your name?
Hi, I'm Shireen.
Shireen, brilliant. And Margot, did you want to add something to that point about
I'm just interested in this idea of like if majority kind of makes kind of agrees on something, then we do it. And I mean, how many people agree that pollution is a bad thing, and what are we doing about it? That's my question, because I think quite a lot of people agree with it, that it exists and needs to be tackled, but do we, like, can we actually do something? Is it just too big? Is the majority a bit too big now? Or maybe people don't know, maybe just don't care.
Yeah, do we know about pollution? Can we do something about it as a community?
I agree with you, but I also think, you know, you can know something's wrong, but at the same time do nothing about it. That seems like that's part of the human condition, this kind of dual thinking. And also, we never really feel like heroes. We feel like the little man, and the little man never feels that he can do something on his own. You know, and I think maybe if we did think more in terms of, you know, as a community, we would be more likely to tackle things like, you know, pollution, climate change, whatever. But because we think, you know, it all starts with you, essentially, but working together is the way that we can actually solve those problems.
Okay, so we feel a bit powerless, maybe, so we can't tackle these big problems.
I mean, I think my point about the people taking the initiative is not so much about whether people agree with it or not. Of course you want that sense of agreement, but I think there's not necessarily that interface or that process of people, you know, because I think, like, okay, maybe she could have gone to a meeting and, you know, spent 3 hours listening to all the other points and then proposed her motion and then argued the motion, and then, but that interface just doesn't work, I don't think, for people, for human beings, and it's got to be a bit more informal, a bit more with a faster feedback loop, I think, to actually involve people. Yeah, I think everyone in a way is actually moving in the same direction, but it's how to actually bring those people in, and I think it can be a bit too maybe bureaucratic.
Okay, council. So maybe that one woman who painted your block, she felt quite empowered. She was able to make change. She didn't feel like the little guy, like Bob was mentioning. But she might have annoyed some people as well. I don't know.
Hang on. People liked it. The only people that didn't like it was the guy, the manager of the
building.
The building, yeah.
he didn't take permission. Maybe, I don't know.
It felt like he was being punished.
Yeah, but like everything, people like the power, and for you to have that, you need to have that respect to the whoever that is in charge and tell him what you are doing, and for him to agree to that. And when you don't take things without asking, people get upset. That's what I must have happened. The other thing is about when you talk of pollution, I get annoyed when I see people in their cars idling, and you go there and knock. Excuse me, could you turn off your engine?
Yeah.
What for? That's the question. I said because in the pollution, I don't care. So when that's what I said. Is all of us. It needs everyone being responsible. That's what I mean. We all have to take responsibility. Not only council, not only this person. Every one of us need that responsibility to take over that responsibility.
That's a good point. So yeah, getting people who are idling their cars to actually turn them off.
So this really turns on the issue of what's individual responsibility, what's collective responsibility, and what's central government responsibility, yes? And then you have to understand how people respond to evidence. And I give evidence to the government on a regular basis, sound, robust scientific evidence, and you might not be surprised to realise they never listen to a single word of it. And I give advice to councils, and the people in the councils I talk to about air pollution, for example, say it's really important, we should do something about the roads, the ULEZ, that's very, very important, yes? And then the same councils build cheap, affordable housing near the busiest roads in the most polluted areas, develop properties on brownfield sites, because they think in very, very narrow silos. So that's the air pollution issue, this is the housing issue, and somehow they don't link it. So councils could do a lot by not actually building houses which put vulnerable people in harm's way for something they accept as a problem when they're thinking about it with another section of their brain.
Francis, you had a point before that, and did you want to add anything to Ian's point just then?
Well, do you want to add something to that point? Okay, thank you so much. I think a couple of things. So first of all, I think there is an issue of language, and I think the whole climate change issue is something that perhaps is considered something that affects a certain class or type of people, and it can be quite exclusive, right? So there's a group or a clique of people who sort of own this issue, who are demonstrating, and it kind of excludes the rest of us, so to speak, and that kind of makes it a bit difficult to engage with. And when I was sort of talking about language, people hear climate change and think, well, what's that? What does that mean? How does that actually affect me in my day-to-day? It's only until you start talking about things like clean air, clean spaces, being able to sort of live with and breathe and be healthy, that's when people, I think, start to connect with that a bit more. It's sort of like thinking about that sort of retail exchange, that exchange of information that kind of just connects with people at a certain level, but also trying to make it a bit more inclusive by using that language. I think in addition to that, there's so many layers. So I totally get the sort of bureaucracy that exists within councils and within any organisation, right? And I think that exists obviously for a reason. There are processes and, things that people have to go through in order to kind of get to a certain end result. You've got to think about risks, you've got to think about costs, you've got to think about engaging with people in order to find the right solution, which then means things can take time, but it also sort of means that you're engaging in a way that's, I don't know, robust, thought out, that means you might not have to change something in the medium term or short term because you've gone in a certain direction, you thought it through. But I do believe you can do that in an agile way. In addition to that, I take your point around the councils or organisations or maybe not thinking in that lateral way when it comes to these issues. And I think it's tough, if I'm going to be completely honest, because you have people demanding housing, people who are on housing waiting lists, and you're sort of wanting to meet that need, and at the same time sort of recognising there are other needs and other sort of issues that you're sort of trying to tackle simultaneously. So it's really tough. How do you prioritise that? Right, how do you prioritise people sleeping rough, wanting to meet that need of building that housing, but also wanting to tackle the issue around air quality and improved quality of life? I think you can sort of work on these things sort of simultaneously, but something has to take priority. That's it.
Brilliant. No, thank you, Fran. So we have conflicting priorities. We have like the language of like climate change and pollution. Should we more be talking about clean air, clean areas? We making difficult choices. You've got conflicting issues. where are we going to go from here, guys? We've got some big...
I could do a little pitch.
There we go. We've got, first of all, introduce yourself. What's your name?
My name's Esther. I'm the community coordinator. Oh, did I make people leave? No.
Yeah.
Need your final thought.
There we go. We're all... Come and sit down. Come and sit down.
Thank
Come
you.
and join us.
Thanks so much. I love Talkaoke. So yeah, hi everyone. My name's Esther. I'm the community engagement coordinator, and we're doing a community research project called WellHome. Hello. You come to our and we're inviting over 100 families to measure air pollution in the home, because very little is known about that. And we're going to give families free air pollution sensors, science activities for the children, and at the end we'll have this summary report which we'll share with you as well. The main aim is to create a community hub where residents, neighbours, families can go and find out about air quality in their neighbourhood and how to improve their health, because it's the #1 environmental risk to our health. So yeah,
there we go.
So do get involved and share with your neighbours and friends as well.
Do people know what indoor air pollution is? Because I've not heard much about indoor air pollution. Do people ask, is there something people are aware of? If so, what do you think it is? Timna, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask or to know, what would I have to do if I want to get involved into this,
yeah. There we go, yeah. Okay, we had a question, sorry, Esther and Mary, I'm gonna... I might come back to you. Timna had a point, which was if they wanted to get involved with the study, how would they do that?
Just come and see us at the stand, and we can tell you a bit more.
Go and find Esther.
Yeah, it just takes. We can tell you a bit more about the study, sign you up, or you can sign up to the mailing list if you still want to think about it. And we've got lots of leaflets and a little activity as well.
We've got some maybe potentially new face at the table. Oh, you've got a plant. Come and join us. We've been talking about pollution, indoor air pollution, planting trees on the street and then not watering them, collective responsibility. So many things, I think. Measuring what is indoor air pollution in the first place, I still don't really know, apart from not burning scented candles.
Well, this is the thing, is we heard earlier on, most people weren't around the table, but things like the scents that are in all your cleaning products and candles, all of this stuff actually is significant air pollution. So you might think air pollution is passive smoking, but it seems like things like greasy fry-ups and Jean-Paul Gaultier perfumes, not just that particular brand, all brands, actually turn out to be air pollution as well.
Yes, and lots of hands up here, but Ian, I'm going to go to you.
I'd just say the study is really focused around asthma and understanding how indoor air pollution affects asthma and allergic asthma, particularly in children. Predominantly that's the major focus, and so it does include like mold and sort of known allergens within the house, because it's not just that we have, if you think about it, pollution in the house can come from outside, can't it? If you live near a busy road and you've got your windows open, you may as well be on that busy road, yes? I think the challenge comes when people go, okay, but are there indoor sources of air pollution? As we make our houses more airtight and more energy efficient, what happens is we become more vulnerable to those indoor sources of air pollution. And some of those are from cooking. Cooking's a major source, especially if you have a gas cooking system. But some of them actually come from our furnishings, from our curtains, from the degassing of chemicals within those products, from our cleaning products. And so it's actually quite a complicated cocktail of chemicals, and we really don't know a huge amount about it, but we do know there are certain things within indoor air which certainly aggravate asthma in children, and that's what we really want to drill down into.
So yeah, that's what Ian's here, that's what he wants to find out about. If you want to find out something, I'm going to go to Francis first and then Bob, but if anyone else has got questions or points they want to make around this.
Thank you so much. Really, really interesting. I actually want to ask you a question, if that's okay. So just hearing all of that information, which is just mind-blowing, can you give us all any quick tips on things that we might be able to do to sort of reduce pollution levels within the home? In addition to that, I really want to hear some more about your research, what you shared with the government. Maybe there's like some top 3 things that you could share that organisations or councils can learn from, because I really want to hear that.
Yeah, I'm going to go to Ian and then Bob, hold your thought, we'll go back to you.
Okay, so you threw me with the second bit, so I have to remember what first. And also, I was admiring your necklace, which is absolutely awesome. So what was the first part of your question again?
Sorry.
Oh yeah, and now I remember. So look.
Oh yeah, what can we do to make our indoor air pollution better?
Let's start with the worst thing you can possibly do in an indoor environment, yes, which is smoke. So yes, and even I'm popping outside to smoke in the back garden. You can still measure the chemical toxins in the house, yeah? If you live near a really busy road, you really probably need to keep your windows closed on that side of the building, yes? If you're cooking, fry up on a gas cooker, yes, make sure you have your extraction hood on, yeah, and so it's things like that. And then I would include, although this is very polarizing, burning incense or candles in your house. And if anybody thinks that wood burners in their house are lovely ideas because it's so warming and natural and healthy for you, I'd really strongly advise you to look at other heating options. So that's the first thing. And then in terms of evidence to government, there are some really big things like the ultra low emission zone, yes, and clean air zones throughout the United Kingdom, not just ours, are really politically difficult, yes? We all know they're politically difficult, but what people don't know is they work, yes? They actually do reduce air pollution and they do benefit health, yes? And that many of the health effects we see, which predict ill health, happen in the poorest individuals, in the most deprived areas in their childhood, yes? So not dealing with air pollution now is damaging children now, which will affect their life, not just their physical health, but their mental health across their life course, yes? So there's a moral imperative to do it. The other thing we keep on saying to government is we do not all breathe the same air, yes? There is absolutely clean air apartheid in our society. The wealthy have more access to cleaner air than the poor individuals, and our government still thinks that people have this kind of capacity to move away from pollution hotspots when actually they are trapped by the poverty they live in, and that's why we need to do something about those particular groups particularly.
Can I just say, Ian, I know we sort of spoke about this earlier, but it does sound like you're sort of talking about living in a bubble. And I think this idea of like a lot of people would say that incense and scented candles made them psychologically happier, spiritually happier. Yeah, you're telling me I can't eat fried chicken in my mouldy room, smoking fags, covered in John Paul Gaultier. It's just ridiculous. I mean, there's certain things that I can agree with, but not lighting incense or a candle. It just seems ridiculous.
Do people agree with Bob? I'm going to go to Ian for a counter.
We're going to have 100 homes, yes, and they're going to have air pollution monitoring in them, yes, and they're going to be measuring the gases, chemicals, particles in the air, yes, and then that information is going to be given to those households, but also presented to the public. And when you see what happens to the particle concentrations, and somebody will light incense and somebody will have a candle, yes, when you just see how dreadful it is, and you go, that's the point. We've had people who've made the same arguments and then we've given them monitors and they've gone home and then they have seen the numbers and they go, oh my goodness, and they just cannot believe. And so in a sense, apart from the fact that I've now got tremendous insights into your lifestyle, which I wasn't expecting, and it does sound very exciting in many respects. Yeah, but it's just one of those things. You talked about education, and you spoke about education a long time ago, and it is really important because I can tell people something's bad, yes, and I'm just a talking head saying stuff, yes. They don't need to believe me at all. There is a need for people to see their own data so that they have more faith in what they're measuring and have a better understanding. So that's, I think, is important. But I do live in a bubble, but my bubble happens to be the same bubble as everybody else's.
We had a few reactions over here.
Sorry, yeah, Bob, I wholeheartedly agree with Bob. I think there's so much going on in this world that it becomes overwhelming. Drink 2 litres of water, exercise, do this, do that, and then on top of that having to remember all these other things that we potentially need to do, and it's important, absolutely get that, but it just becomes so much. Where does it end? Or are we going to start having tick lists of things that we need to do? I've done this tick, I've done this tick. And it just becomes you have to think about it too much. I think had we been taught at a younger age and it becomes like a part of us, part of our everyday life, but now as an adult having to go back and think, how am I meant to live my life? What do I do when I step out of the door?
Am I walking? Am I walking in polluted air? Have I drunk my water? Have I done this? Have I switched off that light? Have I switched off that socket? It's too much.
So it's a round of applause. Yeah, I mean, you've got a lot of agreement. It seems like living well is like a very hard thing to navigate.
It is. I think it is. You know, when you think of people that smoke, you tell them, "Oh, smoking can kill you." It says, "If smoking doesn't kill me, something else will. So why should I stop?" So, like Catherine said, I think it's become too much that we are living in that bubble. That when do we stop? Where will it stop? When will it end? All the chemicals to do the toilets and do this, do that. We can't do without them. All the perfumes you need to put on this, you know, to smell nice. So where does this stop? Where
does it stop?
You know, it's in moderation, I think, because well, I've lived my life for a long time, as Francis knows. I'll be 88 at the end of the month.
Congratulations.
And I think dancing, singing, music, that has kept me going and being involved with people. I just love being involved with people, and as I said, singing with the dementia people, doing simple things. You don't, but lighting candles is on one of my guilts. But apart from that, I don't smoke any of that. But the candles, it's from my religious side of it as well that I have such belief in lighting a candle. You know, but I can't say I have them on all day. You know, but apart from that, I can't see anything else that I'm doing wrong.
Well, so you maybe presented some positive things. I'll go Francis and then Bob or Timna, one of you.
Well, I was just going to try and find a way to find some middle ground a little bit and say that there are some eco-friendly products out there. I mean, they don't get as much marketing profile as the other products, but there's e-cover, like I'm not even going to pronounce it right, but there are cleaning products you can use that are good for the environment. Equally, I wonder if profitability is driving a lot of this, right? Because I'm sure there's got to be a way you can produce maybe candles or incense that's kind of maybe less harmful to the environment. I don't know. It's not my field, but I'm sure these products do exist. So maybe it's about trying to find those products, which means that we can still enjoy the good things in life. And I don't know what to say about fried chicken. I don't know if there's a good way. There must be a way to cook that in a way that's good. But yeah, there we go.
I'm going to go Timna, and I think Catherine, did you have a point? Come on, grab a seat. Welcome.
Is it Francis? Yeah, I think one really important thing in what you've just mentioned, like enjoying the things. I think it's like doing things with fun. I think earlier we spoke about having fun in life and how we're going to enjoy. I mean, and Ian mentioned also like mental health is for him equal to physical health, and it's related to it. When you can, tell me if I'm wrong from what you've just mentioned before. But I think it's like, it's our own, coming back to our own responsibility. Maybe it's better to do this and that, which might be bad for my physical health, but might be good for my mental health. But because I have fun and
I think it's a good point. Oh no. Oh well, I'll pick that up in a moment. Thank you, Timna. Yeah, but it was a good point. Yeah, so there's kind of this navigating between mental health and physical health. I mean, a bit earlier, Ian actually proposed you saw it as the same thing. I'm going to Catherine, but we have a new face at the table. Could you just introduce your name?
Hello, I'm Julie, and I've not really heard the rest of the discussion, so I'll wait until I've heard something.
That's all right. That's all right. Well, yeah, we've been talking about indoor air pollution, and then kind of good things you can do for your health, bad things you can do for your health. And Catherine, you had a point you wanted to make.
I've totally forgotten that point, but Ian, if you could just, you just said something about mental and physical health being the same thing. If you could just expand on that.
What I said was they were equally important.
I'm sorry.
There shouldn't be a sort of division placed between them, yes, and because people say there isn't, yes, but I bet if you've seen somebody who's had a breakdown and goes back to work isn't treated the same way as somebody who's had a stroke and goes back to work. One of them's had a really physical and they're really brave, they've got over this illness. We don't do the same thing to the person who's been through a mental trauma. And for me that's an illustration that we still, somewhere in the back of our mind, don't really understand the roots of our mental illnesses are actually biological. They're actually linked to our health as well, yeah? And I'd rather we thought about these things holistically, yeah?
Fantastic. There we go. We got loads of applause. Another round of applause. Fantastic.
Sorry, I got slightly distracted, but I just kind of wonder, like, is science just like a barrage of information? Because, like, can it be simplified? Because, you know, because do you know what I mean? Because, like, I'm not disagreeing with anything the data is saying. Obviously, people have done research and stuff, but I'm kind of with someone here said about can't even, like, you know, do anything right. I can't even, like, you know, breathe right. Do you know what I mean? But, like, is there some kind of middle ground, or we just, or is science just like a bit of a, you know, a replacement of religion in a way, where it's just like, okay, never mind, like, we don't believe in Jesus now. We're going to be doing the science thing because it's really good, and this is the evidence. Like, what is the way? I mean, yeah, I'm just confused by science. It's a barrage of information.
So, okay, so yeah, the amount of information that research and science can give us, in one place overwhelming, but maybe we put a lot of importance on it, so much akin to religion. Mike, you've had your hand up for a while. I'm sorry.
I just want to answer this one because religion does have a lot of answers to a lot of problems people have in life, but it doesn't have the same mechanism where you have got a theory or a hypothesis, more accurately, that you test, and you test it, for example, by, you know, you think that indoor air pollution might be damaging people's health, so you have to, not just in one house but in 100 different houses, actually find out what is actually happening. So it's different from religion in that sense that it's always evolving, and it's actually you can actually change it because it's based on test and experiment. So, you know, it is very different, and it can be complicated, but in the end it comes out simple once you find out the results of your experiments.
Okay, so the adaptability, the ability to change, is what makes it different for religion.
Can I just say that I think what you meant in a way was that it's almost like a cult of information, right? Not just that it's a religion, like there's a god of science, Einstein, and we all pray to Einstein and we believe anything that the scientists tell us. It's not necessarily it, but it's a cult of information in the sense that there isn't just one theory. There's so many theories, and, you know, not all of them are verifiable. We pick up things that people say in conversation or a headline in a newspaper, and our minds end up like these kind of garbled collages of fact and fiction and things that we haven't yet proven but have just been suggested. And I think that's where it becomes a cult of information, that we are bombarded with these experiments, not all of them necessarily proven, and oftentimes we believe in things that, you know, studies that were done hundreds of years ago, and I suppose we don't just bother to do them again because they're accepted facts. And in that way, that is something that's a little bit religious, it's a little bit spiritual, that you know, certain things are just taken as facts without constantly being proven again and again.
Have we got any responses to this? Are there a few nods on the table over here?
I think one of the biggest grey areas in science is like social sciences, because they change all the time. So what was normal a decade ago isn't normal now. What is certain behaviour was 50 years ago, certain behaviour now wasn't normal, is normal now. Do you know what I mean? And it's something like, you know, there's just so many different opinions, especially on like social sciences, and definitely as well on like mental health, which is a type of science, isn't it? Because it's medicine. Do you know what I mean? But you'll have certain people saying that's a sign of autism, and other people saying no, it's not a sign of autism at all. It's, you know, things like this. It's just such a grey area, I think, a lot of it, unless it's like a mathematical science and you can just add it together and then that's the fact, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like, so a lot of it is now about social science. The fact that we've got this festival here today is a kind of result of social science. I think it's good for us. Do you know what I mean? That it's the way although we haven't always had them, do you know what I mean? It's like new, isn't it? We've not always apparently needed them, now we do need them, do you know what I mean? It's all pushed back to community, really, which is all to do with social science, isn't it, really? And the science of mental health and all that, really, as well, isn't it?
Oh, brilliant. I think that's a great point. Is it Julie? Yeah. Yes, thank you, Julie. So, yeah, I think, so we have this idea that maybe even science is kind of shaped by our society, our reactions, how we measure things. Ian, I'm going to go back to you. You've got a point that you want to make.
Well, I'm a scientist, and so, and so the first thing I wanted to say is I also don't understand social scientists, so that's fine, because I come from the area of science where you measure things, yes, but it's a job. And one of the first things we should really be communicating to people is that science is a job. It's all it is. It's just a job, yes, with a particular set of tools. And I think one of the big problems we have with science is science has moved forward in the last 20 years, much more than the general public know. And actually we're endlessly told we're not meant to tell you the really complicated stuff which is going on because you won't understand it, and I completely disagree with this. So for example, autism isn't an opinion. Autism has absolutely predefined genetic roots and environmental triggers which are transgenerational. Fact. Yes, it's gone beyond being an opinion. We know, so there are things we contribute. I think what people don't understand is we go forward and we generate evidence. The evidence then gets taken forward. Our community treats it very separately. When it gets out into the outside world, don't think that it's taken at face value. The last 2 years, 2.5 years, has been an example of how science is used, not followed, yes, to the letter, and I think that's really important. We are not responsible for how science gets used. We are responsible for how it's generated, and very often once we speak to the journalists, it takes on a life of its own which we cannot control, and we don't even have a right of comeback.
So we've talked about, maybe the relationship between scientists and journalists. Timna has got a point over here.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting what you're saying about how science is used. And as I think Francis is working for the for Hammersmith and Fulham Council, I thought like you do the research. What happens next? Like, are you going to give the results to the council, or what happens?
Okay, so Timna, sort of talking about the study that Ian is part of. What do you do with when you try and do this research? What do you do with that research at the end?
So ultimately, we are working with the Director of Public Health in Hammersmith and Fulham. So my question to you would be, I wonder if that information will get to you or other people within the council. It depends how the council works horizontally. Yes, we know that there are problems there. Here's the problem. Science is always a bit slow and not really fast enough for what the politicians, local or government want, because when we do a piece of science, it has to undergo a process called peer review, and peer review can take years. Yes, it's brutal. Yeah, you send your paper out with your findings, yes, and it undergoes fire. Yes, from people who are anonymous and can say exactly what they want. We were the first Twitter trolls, the science community, yeah? So a paper can take 5 years to come out, yes, by which point policies moved on, and then we're talking about a set of situations which were in the past. But it means the science evidence is always robust. It's just never really quite timely on the scale that you want. And so if we give the evidence directly to the council and they use it, we can't publish it in the scientific journal because it's no longer been through peer review. It's a real interesting dilemma.
Wow, there's quite a lot there that I want to ask more questions about.
So what about when when we had COVID and suddenly all the scientists in the world were like, right, we're working on this vaccination, and they did it. They did it very quickly. So that didn't take 5 years. I understand the peer review, but like, where there's a will, there's a way.
Mary, before you go, we'll just get a final thought from you to leave for the table.
Well, my final thought would be if what tech came back to Imperial College again, so as I could continue my studies with my iPad, even at my age, because I've got a lot of pleasure out of it. But I'd like to wish you all the best of luck in what you're doing. We've really enjoyed listening to you.
Well, thank you so much both for taking part, sharing your thoughts. Any final thoughts?
No, it's been very interesting sitting here and listening to all these wise words, which I thoroughly applaud. And I think everything that's going on here today is excellent. So
fantastic, there we go. A hopeful end to the discussion there. I think in the interest of me wanting to say a lot of things which I've had to sit on for a long time, we're going to switch over the Talkaoke hosts. So if anyone wants to add anything in the meantime, Margot, whilst I go on the table.
I can feel time talking. No, but I just do wonder whether there's some kind of, is there some kind of like a blockage of like, oh, there's information, it has to go through all these like processes, because I don't think it's specific just to science. I think it's similar with the council as well. There's so many departments. I mean, like, also should we... Yeah.
Julie, we need a final thought from you before you go. And these people... Sorry, this is more important.
You want a final thought on what?
Yeah, good, because then we have to prompt.
On science? Is it
or on anything, whatever you're thinking, doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be about science. It could,
Actually, my daughter's an engineer, so yes, because she's a scientist, isn't it? And she at school she quite likes science, and she went into engineering. So yeah, I've got a scientist in the family. Yeah, so there's people in my family who've like been to university and that, and all those things are really a science, aren't they? That if you do medicine, it's a science of medicine. So yeah, I think everything's a science, really. Do you know what I mean?
What's your relationship with science?
With science, I never liked science. I never liked science, so I'm not really interested. So I'm a bit thrown by all this scientific thing. But I tend to think, put the trust in your engineers then, because you know if we've got a good education system, we've got good engineers, and I put a lot of trust in like the engineers and that. Do you know what I mean? When people are untrusting of like modern developments and things like, say, HS2. I know it's been a bit of a debacle about controversial HS2. I think, well, no, it's the greatest feat of British engineering this century. At the end of the day, do you know what I mean? And to say that it's going to pollute the country and that, it's like saying that we can't trust our engineers. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, because other countries are having protests about having the fastest train in the world, are they? Do you know what I mean? Or having a new train line. You know what I mean? I think there are countries that deserve a new train line more than our country even, but the fact that we're getting one, I think we should be proud of our engineers, and it's the greatest feat of engineering. I kind of, because it's in my area and it's bringing jobs to my area and things like that, and I consider it's made in my area from self point of view, I prefer the type of people coming in. Why they're coming in to work. You know what I mean? You see lots of people and they're working, and hundreds of blokes in orange jacket, they're all working. You know what I mean? All working blokes. Because otherwise, in my area, the biggest number of blokes in one place is the prison, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And people like come in to visit the prison, and people come to work in the prison, and it's the biggest employer in my area is the HS2. You know what I mean? Why would I prefer people coming to work in the prison to give them more? You know what I mean? We don't get anything. We get completely overlooked. And I'm absolutely certain a lot of Hammersmith and Fulham's funding does go into the prison, because I had a quick Google of it on the internet, and it says, the prison is mainly like is funded nationally, but all the services provided inside the prison, which would normally be provided by the council outside the prison, like education, social services, courses, employment, all this kind of stuff that the council normally provides, is still provided to them, not by central government, but by actually local government, Hammersmith and Fulham. And I think when you look at the size of our festival compared to the size of the festival in like Greenwich and Southwark, where they perhaps attract more tourism,
in the prison
they attract
the festival?
Because like I say, a lot of the funding, that's where it's gone, and that's why our festival is small. Do you know what I mean? And I definitely think that, because I quickly googled it, and it's definitely that services are provided by the local council, but they're not on any election. The politicians won't talk about it because they're not voters, so they don't talk about it. It's like the area on the map politically, it's just a blank space, nothing exists. But it's actually a 2,000 strong all-male community. You know what I mean?
There's so many points there.
It's just a height of misogyny, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
So many points there, Julie. I mean, we've had the engineers, the scientists, HS2. Is Hammersmith being ignored? The prison.
I'd like to get the scientists on that to see what scientists think about the effect it has on the community. Do you see what I mean? Because it is very, very close to the community. It does take a lot of our resources.
I mean, that's a big question as well. Who gets to decide what science is done? So many, but I know. Francis, you're trying to leave, and we're trying to get a final thought. You've been so many great points there, but are you staying? Or are you gonna? Okay. Well, we definitely need a final thought from the both of you. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, we'll get a final.
Okay, so four quick points. Number one, council funding goes towards all provisions within the borough. So we're talking public realm, we're talking parks, we're talking about housing, education, the works. It goes towards everything. Secondly, we need diversity of opinions. We need religion, we need scientists, we need politics, we need the whole piece in order to think about creative solutions that move us forward in a positive way. So that's the good, the bad, the naysayers, whatever that looks like. My next point, I've completely forgotten, but I'll make my final point.
You can come back and say it later.
My final point was just around, I suppose, we were talking earlier about all the information that we're constantly bombarded with, and it's a bit like going on Google and seeing everything, which will either tell you, yes, you have this illness, or no, you don't, because, you know, everything is publicised there. But basically, I think we need to sort of recognise there will always be exceptions in life. Like thinking about your point earlier about back in the day, how perhaps smoking was a thing and everyone was fine with smoking, and now it's not. Yes, obviously, so things move and evolve socially as we start to research and take that information forward. But I guess what we need to do is look at the evidence, but also live our lives with a sense of value and principle, and think we need to work together for the greater good. Think about the values we hold dear, and think about how we can help better our lives and better the lives of each other.
Yeah, I'd love to ask you what values you hold dear.
No, that's for another time.
That's another time. We're here till 5.
I agree with everything she said.
Okay. What bit do you agree? What bit do you agree with the most, Kirsty?
Oh, I like the last point. So it's about us working together. Like we all have contributions to make. We can all bring something to the table. Being respectful of what others are bringing. Being open to listening, learning, and I think that's the key.
Okay, some really good points. To get a round of applause for that.
I think I've said everything I need to say myself. I think, like I said. It's everyone working together. It's not only the council, it's not only the scientists. All of us have to work together in order to improve our environment, in order to improve our lives together. And I think I like what the scientists are doing as well, because without those scientists and all they're telling us, we would have think, oh, let's carry on doing as we are doing. Why we need that change?
What's going to help people work together more? That's been my question. How do you get people to work to do that working together better?
Well, they're working with. I mean, the scientist, as you said, is working with the health, Hammersmith Health, and you know, like. What Mary said, I haven't been to your classes, and I would like to come to those classes to learn more as well. So if there's any way you can...
So in a way it's opening up the door and inviting people in.
I'm inviting more people in, because I would like to, you know, to come and learn whatever she said it was good. So, you know, I would like to do that. So I think we need more people, more open.
More people, more open. Catherine, you had a point?
Sorry, this is my last point. So we need more sessions like this. This is really good. This is so accessible. You guys are doing a great job. Just love it. And if we had more of this, that would work.
Okay. Well,
I really would. My final point was just you asked how can we do this? I mean, if we could do this during COVID, if we could protect each other and protect ourselves, then we can do. You know, we can do anything. We just need that shared objective, that shared understanding of what the issue is, and you know, uniting against that common. I don't want to say enemy, but whatever that is, using that as a target and thinking we need to do better than this, and this is what we're striving towards.
Same sort of community mentality that we had during COVID. Okay. Sadly, thanks. We have to have a real round of applause, because the fake round of applause is broken, which is someone's going to have to go. Wah, wah, wah.
That's my last point. Sorry, my last point was yes, of course. The point that you were talking about the council and the working with the director of public health. Yes, of course, we know we're absolutely across it, and we're the first council to declare a climate emergency and create a strategy to want to get to net zero by 2030. That was my point.
All right.
Thank you.
Good luck with that. That's all I can say.
Ambitious, but you've got to be ambitious, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so now that Evie's out of the middle, everyone's gone. I need my wah 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 sounds, but we keep this going. We're going to build it up again for sure. You're going to go around to one of the. See. Part of the Talkaoke, this is like one thing. These seats are easier seats to fill. These ones are more difficult. So anyway, I don't know what's going on. I have to keep on restarting this. The Raspberry Pi. Timna.
I was wondering if prisoners would care about indoor and outdoor pollution, because they can't actually.
Can you involve the prison in this if it's in your area? Could you put some sensors in prison cells?
I mean, we could put sensors in prison cells. It's not part of the study because it's focused predominantly on children with asthma.
Maybe you could youth offender.
And there may be all sorts of security issues, because in addition to just measuring the pollutants, we're doing some really brand new stuff, like we're actually doing real chemical fingerprinting, all the chemicals in the house, and every single biological organism which is in the air of these households. You know, really complicated genetic sequencing of all the living stuff in the air, yeah?
Wow.
I can imagine that characterising all of the chemicals in the air in a prison might raise some issues.
Well, I mean, just moving out of the prison for might it raise some issues in let's just say maybe not the average household, but a fair few houses in the area.
It might do. It might do that very much.
Okay. Yeah.
I wonder, is it hard to live your life as a scientist where you look at everything that you interact with as a kind of scientific object? Do you meet people and go like, oh, I want,
well,
you know...
I want to put this question, we've got a technique in Talkaoke which is turn the mirror. So I would like to ask you, is it hard to live your life as a non-scientist?
Yeah. Because I like philosophy, so I feel like my life is exceptionally hard at questioning everything and thinking about everything, and maybe acting less. Maybe I would be doing more research if I wasn't thinking about it so much.
Okay, so being a philosopher, life is hard as a philosopher, questioning everything all the time. So maybe there's some indications there what life is like as a scientist. I'm going to come to you, Evie, because you've not said anything.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think being a scientist or being a philosopher is that so different. I think you're still trying to. I think if you're a scientist, you're committed to one philosophy of knowledge of. I'm going to test this, I'm going to collect data, I'm going to change my mind from this. But I think that is a sensible, logical way to live your life. So I think philosophy might also include ethics, but you know, even as a scientist, you're thinking, like, well, I guess like this is an example, right? You're like, oh, I want to collect data on people's homes, but I have to actually think about this ethically. So if I'm going to collect data about people, maybe it's right for me to share that data. You know, I can't just keep it and then
or not share it if it picks up the wrong thing.
Should it be peer reviewed, and so therefore it can be judged correctly and used in the most useful way? So I don't think there is. I don't know if it's. I don't think there's a contradiction. I think philosophy is just science is just part of philosophy, or vice versa. They intersect. Just thinking.
Yeah. So is philosophy and science a similar sort of thing? You just joined us back again, Bob. At the moment we're sort of talking. Margot asked the question. Is life hard as a scientist, having to question everything all the time? And he hasn't had a chance to answer that yet, because I asked the question back to Margot, is life hard for you as a non-scientist? And she said, yeah, it's pretty tough, because I'm a philosopher and I have to question everything. And then Evie's mentioned, well, is it all that different anyway? So that's where we are right now. Is life hard for you, Bob, just before we come to Ian?
I tell you, it's not hard, but it is scary in the sense that because science has told me that everything that I've been doing for the past 30 years has been terrible, I'm constantly kind of living in dread of this sort of of this horrible, grisly demise that's going to arrive at any moment. Whereas if science had just, you know, kept its opinions to itself, maybe I'd feel a lot happier.
Okay, so is knowing these facts actually counterproductive in a way, because you lose the blissful ignorance?
Dogger. So what was the original question? Is it difficult being a scientist?
Is it life hard being a scientist?
And that's slightly separate from, is it difficult being me?
Well, we can roll those two things in.
So, no, because I don't actually bizarrely go through life. I do go through life questioning everything, yes, but not in a way which is nihilistic. So whilst I might be saying the stuff in the air is quite bad, I'm also going, isn't it just an absolute miracle, everything which is going on around us? Life, the evolution of the planet, the dynamic interaction of every small process fascinates me, and the fact that we are an organised universe in a chaotic structure, the fact that we've evolved to be the only things which we're aware of which can appreciate the immensity of our universe doesn't make me feel small, it makes me feel tremendously privileged. I think there is a difference with some aspects of philosophy and science. So for example, I will measure something, yes, and it will be X. yes, I don't have to say, but would it be X if you viewed it from over here, or would it still be the same sort of X if you viewed it over there? For me, that becomes a solid unitary entity.
And you can move on.
For philosopher, that's the beginning of their pain.
Yeah. Once you've measured it, you move on, basically. Okay, we've got some new faces at the table. We've got Timna, we've got Evie, we've got Bob, we've got Ian, we've got Margot. I'm Mikey. Tell us your name.
Marlena.
Marlena, and what's your name?
Esther.
Esther?
Asta.
Asta. Asta, come and have a seat. Come and get involved in this. We're talking about, is life hard for you? Life is hard for Margot as a scientist, as a philosopher, sorry. Life is hard for Bob, hearing about all the science. Life is kind of semi-hard for Ian, because once he's measured something, he can move on. And then, you know, move on to something else, explore something else. We never found out from Timna and Evie whether life's hard for them. Life used to be hard for me as a Talkaoke host, but I've been doing it so long now that it's just become quite easy. So maybe I need a new challenge. Anyway.
I don't know. I think it made me think of during COVID.
Yeah.
I found finding out more information about it really reassuring. And when I was quite anxious about everything going on, I was like, okay, well, what's going to happen in the briefing?
Yeah.
How does it affect people? But
So you actually listen to those government briefings?
Exactly. Yeah. And I found it quite like I felt in control. I was gathering as much knowledge as I possibly could, and that made me feel a bit better about a horrible situation.
Right.
But you know, like for example, my boyfriend I was living with did not want to hear anything, and it made him feel very anxious, and he was like, why on earth are you reading about this? Like, why do you need to know the stats? And I don't think it was a rational thing from point of me, but I think it's maybe a personality. Some people feel really reassured by having information, and other people think, I don't want to have loads.
I don't want to know too much.
So for me, I find it really interesting, and I want to collect as much information as I can.
Yeah.
I might not react rationally to all that information, but I think it's a personality
You're an
thing.
information hoarder,
Yes.
basically.
Yeah.
Okay, Timna?
Yeah, I'm the same concerning the information. I love to get the information and the knowledge, but I think, for example, with air pollution, I think the hard thing is I don't have the impression that I can change that much. So I think like, knowing all the things, like let's say about how much particles are there because of the cars. I don't have a car. I cycle everywhere, but I can't can't tell someone don't use the car.
Perhaps potentially you could avoid certain polluted routes.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay, so it's information, but it's also if you can do anything about the information. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. What would you do if you found out that ice cream was harmful? In the 2 weeks ago we were learning actually that ice cream was harmful in the previous Talkaoke. Yep.
I definitely feel a lot more like how your boyfriend felt, in the sense that I remember reading about people, you know, having to use ice rinks to store all the bodies and stuff, and I was thinking, oh god, it's on its way, I'm going to be stored in an ice rink in a couple of weeks, kind of thing, and that didn't help me. It did genuinely added more anxiety. I didn't leave the house for weeks and weeks at the beginning of COVID, and then after a while I was like, hang on, I don't think this is quite as bad as people are making it out to be.
So you actually just stayed indoors out of fright?
Completely. I was total cabin fever. I was totally locked in. And then after a while, I admit I did start to break a few of the rules, and I would go and hang out with a friend, sort of distance, not really far away, but you know, enough far away. And over time, I just began to think this isn't as scary as the media has made it out to be. I know a lot of people died, and I'm aware it's still a very serious thing.
Okay, so that's an interesting thing. What we do with information, especially when it's serious stuff, is it helpful? Is it actually kind of, you know, does it give us fear?
I recently last night I read this thing about a plague. There was like some kind of old story about somebody who, I think maybe they predated Jesus or just shortly, no, actually he was shortly after. And he was like known in the area in ancient Greece that he can perform miracles. And in the text it says he was called in because there was a plague in the village, and he resolved it by getting people to stone a beggar to death. And they found it a bit hard to start with, but then they got into it, and they did it. And this book was saying that actually when we sometimes talk about plague, it's not, you know, the plague is almost like a state, like a feeling within the community, and it can come from like dissatisfaction. So it doesn't have to be physical, you know, it doesn't have to be COVID or whatever. It's just like a level
so that's a philosophical perspective.
That's a philosophical perspective. And the second one,
stone a beggar to death.
Yeah, I wouldn't advocate it, but I think it's something like we need some kind of outlet to our frustration. That's one thing. But a second thing I wanted to say is, like, I just came back from Scotland and I saw Milky Way. It was beautiful.
Okay.
And you don't see it in London.
All right. That's light pollution more than that. Marlene, give us a final thought or an initial thought. Any thoughts on this?
I'm just preparing. I'm looking at everything in the house that I can improve and the energy it uses. I'm looking at kettles, at washing machines, at cookers, and what I can do. I'm cleaning out the washing machine and putting in vinegar. I'm doing, you know, every little bit.
I mean, do you find that a little, because one thing we heard earlier, it's a bit exhausting to be having to think about these things all the time.
It's challenging, but you know, it's a challenge to be overcome. And
okay, so you're up there, you're going to overcome the challenge. That's fantastic to hear.